The silver-haired girl's words made Fang Hao and the others tense up. The dragon race is notoriously protective of its own due to racial and population issues. The level of favoritism has reached an unreasonable point. Every force that attacks the dragons will face retaliation from the entire dragon race. This is why all races keep their distance from dragons. Even if he hits you, and you hit back and injure him, you will still face retaliation. Fang Hao looked at the girl, his face filled with confusion, and asked, "Are you talking to me?" The silver-haired girl, Bait, raised her head and said, "You drank dragon blood, and it was the kind of mixed potion. Where did the dragon blood come from?" "Miss, are you mistaken? I have never had any contact with dragons." Bai's face suddenly turned cold, and he snapped, "Humph, you're asking for it." Before she could finish speaking, the silver-haired girl suddenly attacked. With his right hand's 5 fingers together, resembling a long spear, crackling with lightning, he thrust towards Fang Hao's jaw. Fang Hao was prepared, turning his head to dodge and raising his elbow to strike the outstretched hand. At the same time, Dimitrika struck from the side, his fist whistling as it smashed towards the girl's head. The middle-aged dragon, trying to protect the silver-haired girl, had just thrown his right fist at Lizard Man when he heard a whooshing sound. Immediately abandon the offensive and bend your arm to block. And Jia twisted his waist sharply, and the wind from his punch arrived. The middle-aged dragon swayed slightly, but was not injured in the slightest. "You're courting death," the middle-aged dragon roared in fury. Aragon realized what was happening too late and roared as he was about to throw a punch. Bang! A kick, seemingly coming from nowhere, sent the person flying into the air and crashing into the wall. Immediately afterwards, a black magic bullet flew in and exploded in the middle. The dark attribute caused the bright elevator to suddenly dim. The magic bullet exploded, and the energy caused 3 magic lamps to shatter. The darkness eroded the walls, leaving pits and holes. Inside the elevator, only 1 magic lamp remained, flickering on and off. In the small space, everyone was locked in combat. Fists and kicks flew back and forth. Bang, bang, bang. The iron plate deformed, and the magical impact caused the entire elevator to tremble. This also caused the last remaining magic lamp to go out completely. The enclosed space was shrouded in darkness. The wind howled, and lightning, flames, and dark magic collided continuously in the space. The elevator, which was already only 1 floor high, began to sway like a swing. Indecisive. First floor hall. In front of the counter, Grey Dwarf and his group were standing in front of the counter, arguing angrily with the clerk, trying to find out who had sold an extra 100 cannons. Meanwhile, Transmigrators Vadi, after confirming that Merchant Alliance would not disclose seller information, felt comfortable letting Grey Dwarf inquire. He himself was chatting and laughing with a wheat-colored female Transmigrators. "With your beauty, you would have achieved even greater things in the human or elven race territories," Vadi said with a smile. The female Transmigrators smiled slightly. "How could I? The elven race are the most beautiful race in the world. How can I compare to them?" Vadi looked regretful. "What a pity. You actually made your name in desert undead territory. Beauty won't do them any good." Puff. The woman chuckled. "What's the use of being good-looking? Ability is the most important thing. Only by reaching the level of Fang Hao and Aragon can you guarantee your own safety." Vadi nodded. "Aragon is here at the auction too. Did you see him?" "No, how does he look?" Vadi immediately said, "He's very handsome. He's dressed much better than us, and he's surrounded by 2 dragon heroes. I feel that if a fight were to break out, his combat ability would be stronger than Fang Hao's." "Is that possible?" "Fang Hao's points are several times higher than the second place. Of course, dragons are the most powerful race, and Aragon recently changed his allegiance to dragons. All the troop types he recruits from now on will be related to dragons, so defeating Fang Hao shouldn't be a problem," Vadi said firmly. The woman nodded in agreement. "If that's the case, it's certainly possible. Points don't necessarily represent combat strength." That is, just as the two were talking, a loud roar suddenly came from upstairs. Everyone looked up in horror. Then the downward-moving elevator suddenly exploded, followed by a series of explosions from the flat metal elevator. The smooth elevator surface was suddenly bulged with marks, as if some wild beast was imprisoned inside, trying to pound on the iron wall and break free of its cage. Those below gasped and began to quickly move away. They stayed far away, continuing to watch this direction. The staff shouted, "There's fighting inside. Go get the garrison commander." These words were spoken. The onlookers were all taken aback. Daring to fight at Merchant Alliance's auction, Do they have a death wish? Someone went to call the guard, and the elevator, accompanied by a piercing metallic tearing sound, became increasingly dilapidated. The entire elevator began to deviate from its fixed track and started shaking violently in midair. With a violent sway bang, the cable at the top snapped, and the entire elevator plummeted. Boom! After a loud bang, the elevator landed and the elevator doors suddenly opened. Several figures rushed out, and lightning, explosions, and dragon roars filled the entire hall. Everyone present was stunned. A figure slowly crawled out from the smoke and dust. He struggled to crawl out, panting heavily. "It's arrogant," Vedi exclaimed. The woman beside him cast a questioning glance at him. Vedi said to the disheveled figure who had crawled out, "That's arrogant. Isn't he a member of the dragon clan? Who's fighting with the dragons?" The woman exclaimed. Vedi frowned, then focused her gaze on the two sides clashing incessantly amidst the smoke and dust. Her eyes widened instantly. Fule, smoke and dust filled the hall. The silver-haired girl's body crackled with lightning as she glanced at the four people opposite her. Her voice was icy. "Dragon scales are visible beneath your skin. This is a sign that you've taken dragon potion. What else do you have to say?" Fang Hao shook his head, looking at the girl as well. "So what?" While the two were talking, Fang Hao took out a weapon and distributed it to the group. Dimitrika remained silent. Holding a longsword, he left a golden afterimage in place, and relying solely on the power of his physical body, he shot up and slashed at the middle-aged dragon. Dimitrika was taciturn, and Lizardman and the dragons had no connection in this world. As an orange hero himself, and having been marked by the Lizardman, he dared not take the hit head-on and tried to dodge instead. However, the middle-aged man felt a tightness in his ankle, and the white jade slab on the ground lifted up, with the soil underneath enveloping his ankle like mud. More and more soil spread upwards, like a giant hand, dragging him down tightly. But this delay, Lizardman's sword was already upon him. With nowhere to hide, the middle-aged man made a quick decision, slightly bending his body so that his back would face the descending blade. Clang! The sharp sword sliced open the brocade robe, revealing the inner armor that shimmered with golden light. Whoosh! At that moment, the girl's silver electric spear pierced towards the skeleton Nielsen behind her. Nielsen hurriedly dodged, and the soil beneath the middle-aged man's feet began to crumble, launching a counterattack against the lizard man. Taking advantage of the opportunity, Jia quickly approached the silver-haired girl, attempting to get close again. Fang Hao followed closely behind, also conjuring a thunder spear in his hand, which he threw directly at the silver-haired girl. The thunder spear was blocked by transparent energy in front of the girl. At the same time, the girl stretched out her fair arm and pointed to the sky. In an instant, bolts of lightning struck down from the sky. Silver snakes spread across the ground, and the earth and rocks exploded. Dimitrika fainted, then suddenly lunged forward during his attack, killing the girl. The middle-aged dragon spat out a red fireball, which blasted towards the skeleton necromancer behind him, while Nielsen blocked it with a thick earthen wall in front of him. A silver snake suddenly appeared from behind and lunged at Fang Hao's groin. Fang Hao turned around and swung the Thunder God's blade, shattering the lightning serpent. At the same time, the condensed magic accelerated again, and a two-headed fire python appeared in the middle, spitting out fireballs at the two people opposite it. Joint attack, changing targets en route. The six people kept trying to find ways to attack and defend. The scene was chaotic. Figures moved through the smoke and dust, while thunder and flames roared. The magnificent hall is long gone, but the ruined scene continues to be ravaged. Fang Hao threw his thunder spear again, his face darkening. There were 4 people on their side, but only Dimitrika was truly capable of fighting the dragons. Nielsen is a support hero whose abilities and characteristics lie in knowledge and the creation of undead rather than combat. And Jia and Fang Hao, although they also possess some fighting ability, compared to the dragon race, they are far inferior. While the two sides appear evenly matched, the dragons have not yet transformed. Even with 4 against 2, they still have no chance of winning against the dragons. Boom! A tremendous roar erupted, and the shockwave sent smoke and dust billowing out. The two sides split into 2 groups and faced each other again. The silver-haired girl's face grew even uglier, and she said coldly, "I didn't expect you to have some skill, but you won't be leaving here today. A shibburn will kill them." The middle-aged dragon nodded. "It's Miss Baked." After saying this, its body began to swell rapidly, bursting through its brocade robes and revealing its scale-covered skin, which began to grow into a huge and ferocious dragon. The enormous dragon body occupied most of the hall. Fang Hao narrowed his eyes slightly. He gestured to the people beside him and slammed the Thor's blade in his hand into the ground. Call. Cloudy mist was released, a mist imbued with lightning and silver snakes, instantly obscuring the entire hall. It blocked everyone's view. Oomph, now you know fear. The silver-haired girl glanced at the dragon beside her and said, "Dispel the mist and kill them directly." The enormous dragon nodded slightly and flapped its wings powerfully. A powerful gust of wind suddenly roared out, instantly dispersing the fog in the arena. The hall, now exposed, is riddled with scars. As the mist dissipated, the silver-haired girl condensed the thunder spear, just as the dragon prepared for the dragon breath. But there was no one in front of them. There was no trace of the four people. Both of them were stunned. Teleportation scrolling shouldn't be that fast, right? Miss Bait, they've run away, the dragon said in human language. Damn it, the silver-haired girl's face grew even colder. Halfway through the fight, just as I was about to unleash my ultimate move, my opponent suddenly left. It felt like I'd been tricked. Tap, tap, tap. In the distance, the sound of a large number of footsteps could be heard. What followed was a thunderous roar. Anyone who dares to cause trouble in the Alliance is asking for death. The Alliance's guards arrived. The dragon's size rapidly shrank, transforming back into human form. The original brocade robe was now tattered, and she was now wearing a golden armor. Miss Bait, today is an auction. The Merchant Alliance commander on duty should be at the dark gold level. Perhaps we should make our way back first, the middle-aged man said in a low voice. Bai-A's chest heaved violently as he coldly glanced at the spot where the group had disappeared. He said coldly, "Let's go back first." After saying that, he took out a scroll. The middle-aged man immediately jumped aside, picked up the injured Arrogant, who had been caught in the blast, and approached the girl again. The girl unfurled the scrolls completely, and a golden magic circle quickly took shape. The three figures disappeared from the spot. A large number of people rushed into the hall, which was like a ruin. The equipment includes well-equipped guards and countless Valkyrie constructs. The guards surrounded the scene, but no one had been seen. At this moment, an exceptionally handsome elf slowly emerged from among the guards. Long, silvery white hair, delicate features. It's impossible to tell whether it's a man or a woman at first glance. Tyrion the Forest Guardian, Dark Gold Tier 3 Hero. Dark Gold level heroes. Behind this person followed people of various races, many of whom were Orange level heroes. With such a formidable lineup, the two sides who just fought might really have no way to escape if they didn't leave. Tyrion's cold gaze swept over the ruins, his face grim. It took less than 10 minutes from receiving the notification to arriving here. This is what happened. Guards ran over and reported, "Sir, both sides have used teleportation to leave. How dare they cause trouble in Merchant Alliance?" Tyrion put his hands behind his back and continued, "Disperse the crowd and have the auction house manager take information from both sides to guard the hall." "Yes, sir." The guards quickly dispersed to clean up the mess. Vadi stared dumbfounded at the ruins ahead. He met 3 transmigrators here, 2 of whom had just dismantled the auction. "Who is that transmigrators?" "They're actually fighting with the dragons," the transmigrators woman asked. Vadi opened her mouth as if to say Fule, but the next second she said, "I don't know him." The battlefield was quite obvious. The Arrogant that was touted to be about to take flight was lying dead the whole time. When it came out of the elevator, it was in a state of serious injury. Meanwhile, Fule, who seemed to know nothing and needed to be taught some knowledge himself, actually fought several rounds with the dragons. What exactly is going on? Driven away by the guards, the stunned crowd was dispersed. Vadi and the woman, along with their respective races, left the scene. Merchant Alliance, based in Hall. A group of people sat around a long table, their faces all looking very grim. The fact that the auction hall was vandalized at the end of the spring auction was a very serious matter for Merchant Alliance. This hasn't happened in over 100 years. At the head of the long table sat an elderly goblin wearing black-rimmed glasses. After listening to everyone's reports, he finally spoke. "You mean, this time it's the dragons causing trouble again?" "Commander," Tyrion replied immediately. "Yes, the Bait of the Dragon Clan, and the other is from the Transmigrators, from Outpost number 032. The leader of the goblins remained silent. The others, however, had already begun to discuss it. During the discussion, one could hear the dragons going too far and causing trouble again. Clearly, this isn't the first time dragons have fought at Merchant Alliance headquarters. After a long while, the leading goblin continued, Tyrion, as the commander of this garrison, what are your thoughts? Tyrion pondered for a moment and said in a low voice, the dragons are powerful, so we should try to resolve this through appeasement. As for the transmigrators, I think we can be more forceful. At least someone has to bear the cost of repairing the entire hall. The lead goblin nodded. It's up to you, Tyrion. Clear. Main city. The four of them emerged from the teleportation light screen, all looking somewhat disheveled. The brocade robes they wore when they left were also stained with blood and wounds. Master and Jia, what's wrong? Heir asked anxiously, accompanied by a maid. Fang Hao shook his head. It's all right. Go and have Du Jin bring Merchant Alliance. Teleportation array is closed. No one can teleport here without my permission. Yes, master. A maid hurriedly ran out. Fang Hao continued. Dimitrika, the entire city is on defensive. Any stranger entering the area will be immediately killed. Yes, sir. And Jia, go and inform Asidi and Rochuan that they will have a meeting at Lord's Manor in half an hour. And what about you? And Jia asked. The Merchant Alliance will definitely investigate this matter afterward. It's hard to say who is right and who is wrong. I'm bringing our heroes back from abroad so that the Merchant Alliance won't look down on us, Fang Hao said. Oh, I'll go with you. And Jia was a little worried. Fang Hao smiled and said, it's all right, there's no danger. Go and treat your wound first, then do as I say. Good. They dispersed according to their assigned tasks. Fang Hao released the teleportation light screen again and disappeared from the spot. In Blood Fortress, just as Fang Hao appeared, footsteps echoed down the corridor to one side. Lorana, tall and slender, wearing black stockings, and Amanda, dressed in golden armor and wearing an ornate mask, walked in one after the other. You really think this is your own home? Coming and going as you please. Lorana wanted to say something sarcastic, but seeing Fang Hao's disheveled appearance, she forgot to finish her sentence. Instead, he asked with slight surprise, what happened to you? Amanda also turned her attention to Fang Hao. Given the current strength of the territory, Fang Hao, as the Lord, should not be in such a sorry state. In particular, no news of the outbreak of war came through. Fang Hao shook off the dust and said, don't even mention it. Today was the Merchant Alliance auction, and I was planning to buy some useful items for everyone. I didn't expect to run into the dragons. They attacked me without saying a word. After fighting for a while, I used teleportation to come back first. After hearing the brief description, the two understood what had happened. I heard that the dragons are greedy and powerful. Did they take a liking to the items you bought? Amanda asked curiously. Fang Hao explained. They seemed to have some way of knowing that I had taken dragon potion. Forehead. The two fell silent. Such matters are not so easy to judge. The dragons are protective of their own. Protecting one's people is, in a sense, also a manifestation of racial responsibility. However, dragons can sometimes be too unreasonable when it comes to protecting their creatures. Dragons are greedy, and some of them attempted to plunder but were injured in the ensuing counterattack. In such cases, the dragon race will also protect and favor others, and may even retaliate unreasonably. It's hard to say about Fang Hao's situation. One possibility is that he actually killed a member of the dragon clan, a dragon hero with the title, and drained his blood and skin, turning his body into a zombie. Secondly, since it happened at Merchant Alliance outpost, it also involves Merchant Alliance. In short, things are a bit more complicated. Then, sir, what do you mean? Amanda continued to ask. Fang Hao said, the dragon's retaliation won't come immediately, but the Merchant Alliance will soon investigate this matter. I've come to pick you two up so we can hear the Merchant Alliance's opinion on how to handle this, and so they won't look down on us. Two dark gold heroes in the territory. Everything is in Blood Fortress, so these two women are the biggest names in the territory. If others don't go, they have to. Why are you making us go through the trouble you caused? Lorana crossed her legs and rolled her eyes at them. Fang Hao was prepared for Lorana's attitude. He said softly, recently, I acquired a few goblin airships. They're quite nice vehicles, and they look quite beautiful when decorated. I'm thinking of distributing them to a few heroes who have contributed to the territory, but the candidates haven't been decided yet. Lorana's eyes lit up slightly, and she took her long legs off the ground. Ahem, let's go. The sooner we go, the sooner we'll be back. Amanda didn't say much and got up directly. Fang Hao released the teleportation light screen and left with the two of them. After that, They went to other territories and brought back several more orange heroes. 7 p.m. Inside Lord's Hall, Fang Hao sat in the first seat. Below are the heroes who were brought in this time. On the left are Dark Gold Tier 5, Lorana, Orange Tier 8, Dimitrika, Orange Tier 7, Asidi, and Blue Tier 9, and Jia. On the right are Dark Gold Tier 6, Amanda, Orange Tier 7, Nielsen, Orange Tier 3, Rochuan, and 2 later created Orange Dwarf heroes, Living Beings, and the Dead sit on either side. As for Purple Belega, Dark Elf Morse, the zombie dragon Fang Hao didn't call over some heroes, such as Spencer. Morse and Spencer appearing in front of outsiders is like inviting trouble. Meanwhile, heroes like Copper Bull and Belerga are stationed in their respective areas, so it's not easy for them to come over. But that's enough. The current lineup is in no way inferior to any top-tier force. Proving one's strength without directly starting a war is enough. That's what happened at Merchant Alliance today. I imagine the Merchant Alliance will come to demand an explanation tomorrow. Just step in then, Fang Hao said with a smile. The people below nodded slightly, indicating that they understood. Just as he finished speaking, Skeleton Merchant Du Jin entered, bowed, and said, "Sir, the Merchant Alliance has sent a teleportation request. Should we allow them to come over?" Fang Hao was taken aback. So fast. They came over in the middle of the night. They really take this matter seriously. Bring them here. Yes, sir. Du Jin quickly retreated and arrived at Merchant Alliance. The buildings allowed the transmission request. The next second, 3 figures walked out of Merchant Alliance's teleportation light screen. 1 tall and 2 short. The highest rank is Forest Guardian, Tyrion, a Dark Gold Tier 3 hero. The other 2 are goblins. One of them is the staff member accompanying Outpost Number 01, who will truthfully report what they have seen and heard today to the station. The other person is Kuktitor, the person in charge of Outpost Number 032. They are there to accompany and guide you. The 3 figures had just appeared. Kuktitor, keeping pace with Elven Race's long legs, explained, "Mr. Fang Hao is an important client of Merchant Alliance. Last year, his total revenue in just a few months ranked first in the entire region. There must be some misunderstanding here. Lord Tyrion, you must investigate this thoroughly." Now, Fang Hao is the god of wealth for the entire Outpost Number 032. His transaction volume in just a few months is enough for other races to make a whole year's worth of business. Kuktitor naturally does not want the relationship between Fang Hao and Merchant Alliance headquarters to deteriorate. What good would it do to demolish and auction off the buildings? At worst, we could just rebuild them. But without this cash cow, Outpost Number 032's ranking would drop to the bottom again. Their personal income will also be affected. Using force and abusing magic at the Merchant Alliance headquarters to demolish the entire auction house. What misunderstanding is this? They've completely disregarded the rules of the Merchant Alliance. The elegant elf was furious. What happened today will have a significant impact on him. He might lose this leisurely and well-paying job. Therefore, the troublemaker will pay the price. He can't pursue the dragons. But can't he at least deal with this little transmigrators? That's not how it works. What if the dragons attacked first, and Mr. Fang Hao is acting in self-defense? Kuktitor continued, jogging along. Merchant Alliance headquarters will investigate this matter thoroughly. What we need to do now is take this person back for interrogation. Tyrion continued. Kuktitor was speechless. He was just a guide. The decision still rests with Tyrion. I could only jog behind him. Du Jin, who was leading the way, simply led the way in silence. There were no words spoken. The group continued on their way. Soon, we passed through the layers of buildings and arrived at the gate of Lord's Manor. The lights inside Lord's Manor were bright. Tyrion shoved aside the undead blocking his way and walked straight into Lord's Manor. He said coldly, "What a grand gesture. I, the commander, have come here, and you, a mere transmigrators, dare to wait for me to come see you." However, once inside the buildings, when Tyrion saw the group of heroes sitting around him, his expression changed instantly. The arrogance, anger, and questioning emotions just moments before instantly transformed into confusion, doubt, and disbelief. What's going on? So many heroes? In the hall, Fang Hao sat in the first seat, his brows furrowed as he looked down at the heroes. Tyrion the Forest Guardian, Dark Gold Tier 3 hero. Dark Gold Tier 3, just as I guessed. The heroes stationed at Merchant Alliance headquarters have reached the Dark Gold level. However, Merchant Alliance underestimated itself. actually sending only one dark gold to try and capture him. The people talking outside just now weren't quiet either. Fang Hao also heard what was said. It was necessary for me to have Lorana and the others come over. Seeing an elf and 2 goblins standing there in a daze, Fang Hao smiled. He said softly, "What? You came uninvited, and you expect me to greet you personally?" Tyrion's expression turned serious as he quickly realized what was happening. He sneered, "You caused trouble in the Merchant Alliance, and I was the commander on duty that day. What? Don't you feel responsible?" "What responsibility?" "Disregarding Merchant Alliance rules and damaging Merchant Alliance buildings and objects caused injuries and damage. What responsibility do you have to say for them?" Tyrion retorted loudly, not backing down an inch. Tyrion originally planned to subdue Fang Hao by force after entering and then bring him back to Merchant Alliance. "We'll force him to bear the main losses, then discuss it with the Dragon Clan, and the matter will be over." But things are different now. All the heroes present exuded a powerful aura, and some of them were even no less imposing than him. It's clearly impossible to take them away by force. If I take action, I might end up here. Fortunately, reason is still on their side. The Merchant Alliance's rules are there, and the losses and negative impacts caused by the transmigrators cannot be shirked. Upon hearing the elf's question, Fang Hao smiled and said, "It seems you came to my side first and didn't go to the dragons. Is there any difference? If you go to the Dragon Clan, you'll find out that they were the ones who struck first," Fang Hao said. "Even without surveillance, once the dragons explain why they discovered Fang Hao had consumed dragon blood, it will be possible to determine who started the attack." Drinking dragon's blood. The feud between the Dragon Clan and Fang Hao is a personal one, but the Merchant Alliance doesn't concern itself with such matters, only requiring that fighting and brawling be prohibited. Otherwise, there would be plenty of hostile races on the scene, and the reasons wouldn't matter. The person who strikes first bears the greater responsibility in the division of liability. Tyrion's expression remained unchanged as he continued. The Merchant Alliance will naturally represent the Dragon Clan. As for who will bear the responsibility, it's not up to you to decide. "Yeah, sure, you guys go and discuss it. Just let me know how you're going to handle it," Fang Hao said. Tyrion's eyes narrowed slightly. "Do we need to inform you? Come with us. We'll explain your situation once we get to the Merchant Alliance. Merchant Alliance is a neutral force. I accept mediation, but I do not accept your interference. You're just a transmigrators. Don't be so arrogant." Tyrion roared, pointing at Fang Hao and shouting angrily. Fang Hao sneered. "What? You want to die here and see if the elves are capable of avenging you, or if the Merchant Alliance will?" The next moment, the heroes in the 2 rows around him stood up instantly. Tyrion's expression changed, and he subconsciously took 2 steps back, his body tensing. The anger turned into fear. The moment everyone stood up, he really thought they were about to make a move. Tyrion's face was grim. The other party, this transmigrators, was completely different from those he had encountered, surrounded by so many heroes. Moreover, its momentum was not weak at all. He also believed that if the situation continued to deteriorate, this transmigrators might actually have someone kill him. Neither of them spoke, and the atmosphere became heavy. At this moment, the goblin Tor, the person in charge of outpost number 032, who was standing to the side, tried to smooth things over by saying, "Everyone, calm down. It's just some damage to buildings and objects. It's not a big deal. This kind of thing has happened in previous years, and it's easy to handle." He is the head of Merchant Alliance, but his thoughts are aligned with Fang Hao. "We absolutely cannot allow Fang Hao and Merchant Alliance to reach the point of a complete break. The problem could be big or small. The only difference from the past is that it happened at the auction. They also demolished an important building, the auction hall. But it doesn't matter. It's just a matter of losing money. Taking away the leader of a faction is indeed a bit bullying." Upon hearing Tor's words, Fang Hao suppressed his anger. He also needs to work with Merchant Alliance, especially on the materials required for the subsequent wishing pool, including several types of blueprints. "We cannot truly abandon the Merchant Alliance. Mr. Tor, this unexpected event has indeed caused some trouble for the Merchant Alliance. We accept the Merchant Alliance's inquiries and will cooperate in the future, but we must be fair and not biased based on strength." Fang Hao thought for a moment and spoke softly. Tor nodded and said, "Mr. Fang Hao is an important partner and ally of Merchant Alliance. Merchant Alliance will protect the interests and safety of its allies. I will report this to headquarters and follow up on the subsequent handling." "Well, Mr. Kukti-tor is indeed mature and fair in his work. Kukti-tor nodded, bypassed Tyrion, and asked Fang Hao about what had happened. Fang Hao recounted everything in detail, from their first encounter in the elevator to the silver-haired girl's sudden attack, and finally, when he was at a disadvantage, he led his people to retreat first. I explained everything in detail. Kukti-tor wrote everything down before finally saying, "All right, Mr. Fang Hao, I will explain this to headquarters, and I will arrange for someone to notify you of any further developments." "That would be great. Then I won't bother you any longer." After saying that, Kukti-tor turned and left. Tyrion, who had been left standing there, watched the goblins disappear into the distance. He also took another person with him and quickly followed. Returns a merchant alliance via a teleportation array. Inside the hall, Lorana crossed her legs, her straight calves swinging back and forth. Why not just kill him? A dark gold hero, even if turned into a skeleton, would increase the territory's strength. Now is not the time to break with the merchant alliance. Otherwise, I wouldn't have let them through the teleportation array, Fang Hao explained. Aren't you afraid that when he goes back, he'll make up some stories and create enemies for you? No. With Kukti-tor here, he'll speak up for us, Fang Hao continued. All right, that's all for now. Everyone go back and rest. Hey, what about the airship you mentioned? Lorana asked immediately. She hadn't forgotten about the airship incident. Cough. Fang Hao said, "It's outside the city. I'll take you to see it." They led a few people to the location outside the city where the airships were parked. Airship parts were scattered all over the ground, and 101 giant airships suspended in the air. Lorana looked up, her eyes wide. The goblin airships are somewhat famous, but they haven't seen one yet. Pick one. It'll be yours from now on. Lonely Night's Beauty. Lorana and Tobias increases your loyalty by 5 points. Current loyalty 80. The next day, everything has returned to normal. I've had breakfast. Fang Hao, along with Dimitrika and Asidi, once again headed to Merchant Alliance Outpost number 01. However, to avoid unnecessary trouble, all three of them disguised themselves before setting off. Fang Hao wore a wig and his body was wrapped up in a bulky manner, while Dimitrika wore a gray robe over his golden armor. He appears to be an ancient follower of pilgrimage. Asidi also wore a long robe over his body to cover the armor underneath. The three of them emerged from the teleportation light screen. There weren't many people at the station today, and the streets were deserted with only a few scattered passers-by. Fang Hao took out the seashell-shaped business card, glanced at the address on it, and led the other two towards Commercial Street in the west of the city. He kept his head down and hurried along, not paying much attention to the people around him. This place has many ethnic groups and different beliefs, and people dressed in strange clothes can be seen everywhere. Therefore, the three people's clothing did not attract the attention of others. Soon, following the address, the three arrived at the shop. It's a small shop with a wooden sign hanging above the entrance. The sign features a small hippopotamus painted with colored paint. Above the hippopotamus, the words Coral Hut are written. This is it. Push the door open and enter. The store wasn't very large, and behind the counter, which was covered with sparkling seashells, stood a female shop assistant. Welcome. The woman had long blue hair and eyes like sapphires. Upon seeing guests enter, they would greet them proactively. Her voice was very pleasant, but her intonation was somewhat peculiar. Coral Witch, rank 5. This should be a troop-type unit belonging to the sea creatures. Having reached level 5, it is indistinguishable from a human in appearance. Her skin was just fairer, with a subtle, iridescent sheen. I don't know if what's behind the counter is a leg or a fish tail. Yeah, we'll just take a look around, Fang Hao said casually, not paying much attention to the shop assistant's appearance. The female clerk nodded. Please go ahead, sir. Inside the shop, there are display cases with distinctive ethnic characteristics. Inside the counter, like in other shops, various weapons were displayed. The equipment was mostly of blue quality, which held no appeal for Fang Hao. Besides equipment, they also sell materials and products from the sea creatures. Deep Sea Seashell, priced at 80 Warfire coins. Deep Sea Pearl, priced at 120 Warfire coins. Magic Scroll, Rain of Arrows, priced at 350 Warfire coins. Magic Scroll, Water Dragon Thorn, price, 520 Warfire coins. Totem, Megalodon, priced at 880 Warfire coins. Coral Hut sells a fairly complete range of items. Fang Hao took a special look at the totem. The totem is a huge wooden carving of a shark's head, with a ferocious head and huge teeth, along with a section of the body. It stands in the corner of the shop. Totem, Megalodon. Category, Ship Totem. Ability, Sailing Speed plus 10%, Marine Life Deterrence plus 15%. Description, the ship equipped with the Megalodon will deter any sea monsters that dare to provoke it. Totems were originally mounted on ships at sea. I thought it was some kind of tribal totem worship. However, this totem has some decent attributes. It can not only increase the speed of navigation, but also serve as a deterrent. It can also be understood as the equipment of a ship. After acquiring equipment, the ship's attributes can be increased, and the safety of the crew can be better guaranteed. Besides totems, they also sell many magic scrolls here. However, the types are relatively limited, all being scrolls related to water magic. After browsing around the first floor and finding nothing they needed, they led the other two people straight up to the second floor. The first thing you see on the second floor is still purple weapon. Equipment, skip over it. The equipment here is of no use to him. Next came various high-quality materials. A giant fish skeleton, priced at 900 Warfire coins, with a sea creature influence of 800 Da. Deep sea gold dust, priced at 1,200 Warfire coins, with a sea creature influence of 1,000 Da. Sacred fishbone, priced at 1,500 Warfire coins, 1,300 sea creature influence. Totem, vengeful spirit of the deep sea, price 2,200 Warfire coins, influence of the Sea Clan, 2,000. On one side against the wall, there are several more tall totems. Totem, the wronged souls of the deep sea. Category, Ship Totem. Abilities, nighttime sailing speed plus 20%, sea monster deterrence plus 30%, crew deterrence plus 25%. Description, in the dead of night, you may hear the cries of sleepless people, telling of their loneliness and pain, waiting for you to become one of them. This is a wooden carving of a disheveled man weeping with his face covered. I only found out from the description that it was a vengeful spirit from the seabed. Someone who didn't know better would have thought it was some kind of weeping banshee. They'd put anything on a ship for the sake of navigation. Not only does it increase the deterrence against sea monsters by 30%, but it also increases the deterrence against its own crew by 25%. Isn't this a case of killing 1,000 enemies while losing 800 of your own? Sailing, which involves living on a ship for months at a time, has given rise to the totem of equipment. The crew suffered terribly. The only place in my territory that is close to water is the lake in Fulay. It looks big, but it has nothing to do with the sea. The fishing boats we use now are sufficient, and we don't need seagoing vessels or totems. Adding that 20% speed won't make a difference. Stopping his attention from the totem, Fang Hao continued looking behind him. Finally, Fang Hao's eyes lit up. He had found what he needed. Coral crystal, priced at 75,000 Warfire coins, 10,000 sea creature influenced. Breeze white coral, priced at 80,000 Warfire coins, 10,000 sea creature influenced. As expected, there is. Fang Hao was overjoyed. My own wishing pool is finally settled. However, the influence of these sea creatures. Looking back now, the Merchant Alliance auction was actually quite useful. At least when it came to buying items, the competition was only about price, without any requirement for influence. Let's go downstairs first. Fang Hao turned and went downstairs. Coral Hut is clearly not doing too well. Other shops have 3 or 4 employees, but this one only has 1. I walked slowly down the stairs. Fang Hao and his group paused again. On the first floor, new guests had arrived, including 3 lizard men. Ancient Sacred Crown Feather, Anastasia, Dark Gold Tier 9 Hero, Guardian of the Divine Temple, 9th Order Troop Type. The leading female lizard man was tall with a long, slender neck and red, scale-like skin, dressed in a dress that resembled phoenix feathers. Wearing a tall, feathered crown, its blue feathers stood out like jewels. Its neck, fingers, and the tip of its tail were adorned with beautiful gemstones and gold ornaments. Body curves, clothing, and appearance. Even though their aesthetic tastes differ, Fang Hao still exudes a sense of feminine beauty and elegance. At the same time, Fang Hao was secretly surprised by the opponent's rank, Dark Gold rank 9. This is probably on the path to becoming a god. According to Nielsen, Dark Gold of rank 9 and above is at the demigod level, which is what the books refer to as hero god. Fang Hao had killed a demigod before, but the lizard man before him was the closest hero to a demigod he had ever encountered. Behind the glamorous female lizard man were 2 9th Order troop types. It was nearly 3 meters tall, as strong as a triceratops stuffed into armor, and carried a huge, serrated greatsword. It looked extremely fierce. I heard footsteps coming downstairs. The female lizard man also looked up and saw Fang Hao and Dimitrika coming down. Fang Hao smiled and nodded in acknowledgement, and the other person nodded in return in a friendly manner. After exchanging greetings, Fang Hao went straight to the counter and said to the Coral Witch clerk, "I want to buy materials from the second floor." Coral Witch smiled. "Yes, sir. What do you need? If it's a large quantity, we can arrange for it to be delivered directly to your territory." Fang Hao coughed lightly and asked tentatively, "If I want to buy a lot of items from the second floor, which would make you a lot of money, but my influence isn't enough, is it still possible to buy them?" Coral Witch was taken aback by the question, then paused to process it before asking, "Sir, what would you like to buy?" "The coral crystal on the second floor, breeze white coral," Fang Hao replied. The witch nodded. Both of these items were quite expensive in the shop. The items were originally meant for the third floor, but since the third floor is not open to the public, they are temporarily placed on the second floor. "Sir, may I see your invitation card?" Fang Hao took out the Merchant Alliance invitation card and handed it to the other party, but somehow it was quickly returned. "I'm sorry, sir, your influence is only 1505 points, which is insufficient to purchase coral crystal and breeze white coral." Fang Hao pocketed the invitation card and continued, "I understand. What I mean is there another way to complete this transaction? You understand what I mean, right?" "I'm sorry, sir. You can choose some other items or complete the sea creature's order, which can help you build influence," the shop assistant said, maintaining a professional smile. Fang Hao was at a loss for words. Completing orders from the sea creatures can indeed build influence, but it takes a long time for the number to rise from 1,500 to 10,000. I don't have the time to build up my influence with the sea creatures. Moreover, there are really no items among the sea creatures that can be used in any territory. In an instant, Fang Hao found himself in a difficult situation. Just then, a voice came from behind. "Do you really need these materials?" Fang Hao and his companions turned around and saw a glamorous female lizard man standing behind them. With her arms crossed over her chest, she displayed a unique elegance. "Yes," Fang Hao nodded. The female lizard glanced at Dimitrika out of the corner of her eye before returning her gaze to Fang Hao and asked softly, "What's your name?" "Fang Hao, what's your name, ma'am?" Fang Hao asked. The message included the other person's name, but calling them by name directly was clearly impolite. "I still need to ask her first, and then address her by her name after she answers. Moreover, it's not a bad thing that a dark gold tier 9 hero has shown friendliness towards me." "Anastasia," the female lizard man said. Fang Hao nodded, using the half-baked etiquette he had learned from Rebecca. "Ms. Anastasia, it's an honor to meet you." The female lizard man returned the greeting slightly. "If you're troubled by your influence, perhaps you need to make a friend now." Fang Hao narrowed his eyes and instantly understood the meaning behind the other person's words. "Help yourself?" The unexpected kindness that came to him made him suspicious, but she maintained her smile, saying, "Then how should I repay my friend's kindness?" The female Lit Harmon said directly, "My shop is not far away. Why don't you come over and sit for a while?" Fang Hao was taken aback. Why did it feel like a rich woman was hinting at a gigolo? "I'll come visit you again." But lizardmen's aesthetic sense must be different from that of humans. She sees herself the same way Fang Hao sees her. Even if you don't dislike them, it doesn't necessarily mean you want to have a deeper conversation. Suddenly, Fang Hao noticed that the female lizard man was glancing at Dimitrika, intentionally or unintentionally. This led him to new speculations. "Of course, I apologize for bothering you, ma'am," Fang Hao replied with a smile. The female lizard man smiled and led the way outside. Fang Hao and the other two followed behind and left the shop together. The lizard man's store wasn't far. It only took about 4 or 5 minutes to walk there. Push the door open and enter. Then they heard the lizard man inside bow respectfully. "Your Majesty." The three people at the door stopped in their tracks simultaneously. "Holy crap, Queen." Fang Hao saw Dimitrika and showed some surprise at him. "We went up to the third floor and entered a private room. The room wasn't very big, but it was decorated very beautifully. The main color is peacock blue, accented with touches of red and gold. Even if it's not as extravagant as the auction hall, it's still beautiful and exquisite. Please have a seat," the lizard queen said, gracefully gesturing with her hand. The group took their seats. A lizardman's attendant prepared tea and refreshments and placed them in front of the three. The lizard queen gestured for the group to relax and said, Your battle yesterday was spectacular. There aren't many who dare to fight against dragons. The three were startled, not expecting that the other party would recognize them at a glance. Are we that obviously the same people? The disguise was too clumsy and didn't work at all. After the initial surprise, I quickly calmed down. Fang Hao said, "Oh, Your Majesty, you're here too." It's clear that the other side didn't show any malice. Lizard Man has little connection with the dragons and is not worried that they would take action on behalf of the dragons. I saw some. The female Lizard Man picked up her teacup and took a sip. Would you mind telling me why? Some pointless misunderstandings. Fang Hao replied dismissively. The Lizard Queen didn't press further and continued. We have had long-standing trade relations with the sea creatures, and our influence is enough to buy what you need. Since the other party had already been straightforward, Fang Hao was more willing to get straight to the point. She said softly, "Then, Your Majesty, what do you require of us?" The Lizard Queen, her slender wrist resting on her chin, continued. The Holy Dynasty needs allies. Good grief. Are they calling themselves the Holy Dynasty now? That sounds really high class. We have already felt the Queen's friendship. What about the rest? The Lizard Queen glanced at Dimitrika again. He spoke softly. I hope this warrior can return to the Holy Dynasty and continue to serve it. Fang Hao frowned. This rich woman doesn't play by the rules. You just bought me something once, and you expect to get Dimitrika for free forever? Pooh. Dimitrika, what do you mean? My lord, my oath of allegiance to you will not change, Dimitrika said solemnly. Fang Hao is not worried about this. Dimitrika was highly loyal from the very beginning. Moreover, it has already reached 100 points, so no form of counter-espionage or bribery will work. Unless the Lizard Queen actually summons the ancient saints of the Lizard Man faith, it might cause some turbulence in Dimitrika. The rest simply cannot allow Dimitrika to betray them or their territory. Fang Hao nodded in satisfaction. Your Majesty, Dimitrika is a hero of the territory and also my family. I would not use my family as a bargaining chip in a transaction. I think Dimitrika thinks the same way. This result still surprised the Lizard Queen. Lizardman's faith in the ancient saints is ingrained in his very being. Unexpectedly, Lizardman rejected the conditions so decisively, without the slightest hesitation, and it didn't seem like a false lie. She didn't quite understand. Similarly, humans value Lizardmen so much that they call them family. Surprised, she once again had a new impression of Fang Hao. I won't force you on this matter. The gates of the Holy Dynasty will always welcome the followers of the ancient saints back. Before the other side could speak, the Lizard Queen continued. So, what can you offer us? Getting back to the main point, let's ask for our own price. Of course I won't let my friend help me for nothing. Fang Hao thought for a moment and said, here's the deal. As payment, I will pay Holy Dynasty 10,000 blue. Quality weapons, spears or swords, you can choose whichever you like. 10,000 is not a small amount. According to Merchant Alliance Outpost Blue based on the price of weapons, even the cheapest one costs 200 Warfire coins. 10,000 of them would amount to a reward of 2 million. I see, the Lizard Queen pondered. After a moment's thought, he continued, not bad. We do need to replace a batch of equipment now. What kind of weapons can you provide? That depends on what you're good at using. Take a look. Fang Hao didn't hesitate and exchanged several weapons that Warehouse had in stock with Zhongbin. Blue's fire gun, crossbow, and round shield are not included. Only weapon. Mountain King Orc Saber, blue. Discipline Mace, blue. Bandit Ghost Head Saber, blue. Military War Spear, blue. Dwarf War Saber, blue. A series of clanging sounds followed, and a bunch of weapons appeared. The sound of clashing weapons alerted the guards outside the door, who rushed in to check if it was safe. Then, under the Queen's cold gaze, he immediately closed the door. The Lizard Queen picked them up one by one to examine them. He put them all back and said softly, You mainly sell weapons at Merchant Alliance? Well, weapon equipment, and some tools and implements. How about the price? The Lizard Queen seemed quite satisfied with the weapons and began to inquire about the price. Fang Hao said, If it's a friend buying, the price is lower if you buy in bulk. Haha. Okay, then I'll take 10,000 of these. I'll arrange for someone to come and check it out with you later. If the price is right, we can cooperate more in the future, Lizardfolk Queen continued. The weapon she picked up was the Mountain King Orc Saber, a type of sword resembling the large, ancient cleavers used for beheading. At the junction of the hilt and the blade, there is a ferocious beast head. The size and weight are perfect for Lizardman, and it looks very imposing. Those unaware of the weapon attribute might mistake it for a purple weapon. As for future collaborations, Fang Hao welcomes that. As long as a deal is finalized with Lizard Man later, I can earn back everything, including the principal, by giving it away today. No problem. 10,000 weapons. Shall I deliver them to you now? Fang Hao asked. With so many weapons suddenly appearing here, the Merchant Alliance might think we're trying to rob us, the Queen continued. In that case, I'll arrange for transmigrators to contact you, and you can trade directly. It seems she knows quite a bit about transmigrators. Okay, then what I want is, the Queen stood up. Let's go. Let's go buy what you need now. You'll have to pay for it yourself. Certainly. The group left the Lizard Man store and headed in the direction of Coral Hut. Re-enter Coral Hut. The shop assistants didn't show any surprise at the group's return. The Lizard Queen gently waved her hand, and a lizard man following behind presented her with an invitation card. Tell me, what do you need? The shop assistant didn't react much, picked up the invitation card, and looked at Fang Hao. This approach is likely quite common within Merchant Alliance as well. Fang Hao immediately said, upstairs, I need 50 clumps of coral crystal, 50 clumps of breeze white coral, and I also need 50 units of ocean's tear. The shop assistant was carefully taking notes. Then he said, 50 coral crystals total 3.75 million, 50 breeze white coral crystals total 4 million, 50 ocean's tear crystals total 250,000, for a total of 8 million Warfire coins. Fang Hao was overjoyed to hear that ocean's tear was also in stock. He took out 2 suitcases, counted out 8 million Warfire coins, and instead of paying directly, asked, can I take it now? The shop assistant explained, sir, it will take about 2 hours to prepare the goods and deliver them. Each item has 50 units, which isn't a large quantity. The only problem is that the ocean's tear needs to be transferred from the sea folk's territory, but with the teleportation array, the speed is quite fast. Okay, here's the money. We'll come back for it later. Fang Hao pushed the Warfire card over. The shop assistant nodded. Okay, sir. Fang Hao was in a great mood after leaving the shop. The Lizard Queen asked, would you like to come and sit in my shop? Fang Hao shook his head. No, I still need to check out the Undead shop. Would your majesty like to come along? The Lizard Queen also shook her head. It's not appropriate for me to go to the Undead shop. You'll need an invitation card to pick up your goods when you come back. Okay, thank you, your majesty. The group separated and went their separate ways. After a morning, the 3 of them relaxed a little. Although I still cover my face, I'm not as nervous as I was at the beginning. It seems that no race would be so idle as to pay attention to the movements of the 3. The only way to see the devastated, sealed-off ruins is when passing by the former auction house. Rebuilding will likely require considerable effort. Upon arriving at the Undead shop, I did not encounter the Undead hero from last time. I looked for technician buildings in the store. Blueprint or bones still yielded no results. I browsed around the nearby shops. Feeling that there wasn't much time left, I picked up the invitation card at the Lizard Man store and headed to Coral Hut. Inside the shop, sir, all the goods are here. The female shop assistant became even more respectful. The packaged gift boxes filled the empty space. Fang Hao checked the items and then put them all away. The clerk continued, sir, if you need anything, you are welcome to come back and make another purchase. Fang Hao stopped walking and turned back to ask, seafood, is it the kind that can be sold in restaurants and sold in bulk? The shop assistant nodded. Yes, you can order that, sir. Do you need influence? Food is a gentleman who doesn't need influence. Okay, how can I contact you then? Perhaps we can cooperate a few more times. The shop assistant's smile widened, seemingly even happier than Fang Hao for facilitating the transaction. He immediately said, sir, this is our shop information. Just give it to the shop owner later. As he spoke, he handed over a seashell. That is the exact same shell I got from Merchant Alliance last time. Fang Hao took it and said, okay, I understand. Goodbye, sir. After leaving the shop, returned the Lizard Queen's invitation card. The 3 of them did not linger and went directly to the teleportation light screen to return to their territory. On the other side, the eastern boundary of the 100 Cities Federation, Shantae Yao Fortress, the sounds of hurried, chaotic footsteps, the clanging of armor against each other, and the grinding noise of cannon gears being pulled together. It permeates every corner of the camp. In the center of the military formation, in a set of constructed stone buildings. By this time, the area was already packed with people. At the head of the Hall of Justice is Nidam. At this point, dozens of people had already gathered below. In addition to the 3 forces of Hall of Justice, the Church, and the Mage Association, There were also reinforcements from various cities, commanded by their respective commanders. Judging from intelligence and the situation, negotiations are clearly not going to solve this problem. Only war can shatter Otis's illusions, Nidam said solemnly. The movements of the undead are becoming increasingly clear, and the 100 Cities Federation is no longer hoping to resolve the issue through negotiations. Only a war can make those skeletons realize their mistakes. The two sides are now in a highly tense situation. Even the slightest action by either side could trigger a large-scale war. Otis has been preparing for this for many years. Now that they've made their move, they must have a certain level of confidence, a mage said, continuing. We need reinforcements. In the past, humans could always find allies to fight against the undead. After all, the undead are powerful, which is not good news for any race. This year is a bit different, though. The dwarves just finished fighting off the undead and suffered heavy casualties. I heard that both orange generals died at the hands of the dead. He even brought back Balurga, who had been expelled, and restored him to the throne. Therefore, Boffing Mountain had no troops to support humanity and could only provide and sell a large number of cannons to increase human combat power. Afterwards, Silverwing City contacted the Orc tribe, hoping to join forces with the Orcs to launch a pincer attack on Otis' great necropolis. But the news we received was still surprising. Tusco has a new owner. The current owner is the Bull-Headed Man tribe from a former small town, whose leader is called Copper Bull. Moreover, the other side stated that they had just ended a civil war, and their greatest capability was to station army troops on the border to give Necropolis the illusion that they were about to attack. There is no additional capacity to provide manpower support. Humanity was dumbfounded. Everything is going wrong, and we don't have a single ally left. Therefore, at present, humanity can only look to itself. Nidam knew everything, but he couldn't say it out loud. He could only vaguely say, Silverwing City is working on reinforcements. Let's discuss the immediate issues first. Looking around, Nidam continued, how are the people at the church and the Mage Association? An elderly man dressed in church attire spoke softly. 6 bishops have arrived, along with 5,000 temple knights, 26,000 temple warriors and pilgrimages, and 45,000 clergy, all of whom have been deployed to the army. Clergy refers to priests, such as assistant priests. In the army, the main role is a support class responsible for attribute enhancement, negative attribute removal, and healing the wounded. Even if the church has special harm to the dead, the number of people is still there. The total number of church personnel transferred from the entire federation was less than 80,000, and most of them were in auxiliary positions. However, the addition of 6 bishops is enough to provide the human side with a strong fighting force. Nidam nodded, his gaze then falling on the Mage Association. Water Mage, Mape replied directly. A total of 23,000 mages came and were positioned at the rear of the ranks, ready to be mobilized at any time. The noble's monopoly on knowledge resulted in an even smaller number of mages. Nidam nodded again, indicating that he understood. Next, he inquired about the troop strength of the other cities and their needs. Nidam continued looking at Suhaid in the church area and asked softly, Saint Suhaid, is there any new news? As the situation between the two sides deteriorated, Suhaid's status rose accordingly. Everyone is praising the church for cultivating a saint who has managed the big picture. Suhaid shook his head. No news. Contact with them has been lost. Well, we'll see. Nidam stopped talking midway through his sentence. He looked down at the teacup on the table. At the center of the teacup, ripples of water rhythmically spread out in concentric circles. As they approached, the alarm bell blared, and chaos erupted outside the room, filled with shouts. Bang! The door was pushed open. A Hall of Justice guard, pale-faced, rushed in. He shouted, The undead army is advancing. Everyone stood up. Nidam's expression was unusually grave. He shouted, Everyone, return to your respective camps immediately and prepare for battle. Yes. Everyone responded and rushed towards the area where their army was located. Half an hour later, the ground began to shake more and more. The densely packed undead army crossed the border and began its attack on the human camp. Wah! The bugle sounded. The sturdy shields stood upright, layer upon layer, forming an iron-gray metal wall. Boom, boom, boom. The cannon roared, and the shells arced through the air, hurtling towards the undead camp. Soil and rocks mixed with bone fragments flew everywhere. Following the cannonballs came a dense barrage of arrows, falling like raindrops. The clanging and tinkling sounds fell upon the spirits of the dead. However, arrows have extremely limited effect on troop-type undead. It didn't cause much of an impact, and the undead continued their charge. The rear of the army. Li Rong gripped the staff in her hand, her palms sweaty. I mentally encouraged myself, reassuring myself that being in the rear was a safe zone. She kept cursing Fang Hao for sending her to such a dangerous place. He's a woman, and a business talent at that. What was wrong with him to insist on putting her here? The hand gripping the staff tightly began to turn white, losing all color. Don't worry, if there's any danger, I'll take you away immediately. Beside Li Rong, Dark Elf Morse began to speak. As Li Rong's guardian hero, he does not accept missions assigned by the army. Moreover, the other mages were also assigned personal guards. Okay. Li Rong's voice trembled. Just then, a command came from the side. Magic missile ready. Fire. Call. In an instant, fireballs, water bullets, large swaths of magical elements flew away in arcs into the distance. Compared to other powerful spells, this low-level spell has a long range. It is more suitable for long-distance, large-scale, intensive deployment. The effect is almost identical to cannon's coverage attack. Moreover, this magic bullet is relatively basic, and even apprentices can demonstrate combat power when they enter the fray. Various colored magic bullets slid across the sky, creating streaks like domes. It slammed into the charging undead with a thud, creating a burst of elemental energy. Watch out for the enemy. Magic missile. On the other side, the undead's magic missile also tore through the sky and flew into the human army. Bang, bang, bang. In an instant, pieces of flesh scattered everywhere. Dark energy began to spread everywhere. The clergy began to pray, expelling the spreading negative influences. Even so, the frantically running undead crashed directly into the iron wall of shields. Like waves crashing over the ocean, they surged through the iron walls and attacked humanity. The undead broke through the defenses and engaged in close combat with the humans. The group of mages began casting spells and continuously drinking potions into their mouths. Li Rong, her face pale, looked around and saw nothing but soldiers fighting each other. The entire battlefield was filled with screams and flames. Is the Human Federation really that weak? Why would a formation that had been set up for so long and seemed foolproof be breached in such a brutal way? It's almost unbelievable. After 2 attempts, I released a 2-headed fire python nearby, and then also released magic missile into the distance. But her mind remained blank. They could only subconsciously perform the actions of gathering and releasing. Compared to the relatively safe rear, the fighting on the army's front lines was much more intense. Click, click, click. The sound of metal chains rang out. In Undead faction, dozens of giant skeletons, each 10 meters tall, entered the battlefield. His body was bound with iron chains. With a powerful thrust of his arms, the iron chains roared out, smashing down swarms of human soldiers. Just when everyone was at a loss, facing the giant skeleton, a holy ray of light pierced the sky and shone down. Above human faction, a phantom image of an angel with outstretched wings appeared. He looked indifferently at the dead ahead, pointing with his finger. A massive golden sword fell from the sky, instantly piercing through the skeletal giant in front of it. The skeletal giant twisted in agony as its body turned to ashes. At the same time, the golden greatsword did not disappear immediately. The emitted light enveloped the skeletons within a radius of tens of meters, instantly turning them to ashes. It's His Excellency the Bishop who has taken action. Rebuild the defenses, quick. Commands were issued rapidly. The army troops behind them continued to rush forward and plug the gap again. At the same time, the remaining giant skeletons also received special treatment from human faction, or a deluge of water, or a simultaneous attack from dozens of cannons. Li Rong numbly unleashed her magic, her gaze sweeping over the battlefield that resembled hell. Fire dragons filled the sky, icy rain fell, and poisonous clouds spread. A life-or-death battle was raging in every corner. In the air, carrion vultures and thunder eagles clashed and fought, with pieces of flesh and blood falling to the ground. Below, the undead charged against the shield array, and all sorts of colorful magic bombarded the enemy's camp. A skeleton knight wielding a scythe, a stone coffin devouring the souls of corpses, and a 10-meter-tall skeleton giant. At this moment, the rear of the team was not as safe as they had imagined. On the battlefield, life and death depend more on luck than anything else. Fang Hao, if I die here, I curse you to never be able to stand up straight for the rest of your life." Li Rong cursed, opened the potion, and tilted her head back to gulp it down. Main city. Fang Hao and his two companions, completely unaware of the battlefield, stepped out from the light screen. After handing the business card to Du Jin, he went straight back to Lord's Manor. "We've arrived at the location of Rejuvenation Springwell." They chose an open space on one side and planned to build a wishing pool. Open Lord's book and find blueprint. Wishing pool blueprint, orange. Category, special buildings blueprint. Prerequisites for construction, for statues, 5/4. Materials needed, 5,200 wood, 3,500 stone, 1,200 tough hemp rope, 3,000 stone bricks, 120 natural gem, 120 traces of forest, 50 coral crystal, 50 ocean's tear, 50 breeze white coral, 50 morning blue coral, 10 mana essence, 5 perfect essence. Description: each week, you can consume a fixed amount of basic resources to make a wish, with a chance to receive a wish reward. All construction requirements have finally been met. The territory currently contains 5 statues. These are, respectively, Goddess of Abundance, God of the Undead, God of Slaughter, God of Deception, and God of Crafts and Fire. Blueprint also includes God of Light. The statue is an enemy of God of the Undead, so they cannot be built at the same time. After taking out all the newly purchased materials, all conditions have been met. Having finalized the chosen location, I adjusted the angle. Construction has begun. The orange light instantly rose up, gradually forming the outline of a pond. It took almost an hour. Fang Hao returned after taking a stroll, and the light from the wishing pool had faded. The overall shape appeared before Fang Hao's eyes. This is a pond with a radius of about 2 meters. The water is crystal clear, and various strange and beautiful flowers grow on the edge of the pond. At the center of the pond is a stalagmite-shaped pillar pointing upwards, covered with intricate and mysterious patterns. Fang Hao stepped forward to check the attributes. Wishing pool. Category, special buildings. Ability, prayer. Materials, 0/100. Wish. You can make a wish for the materials/items you need, and there's a chance you'll receive the reward you wish for, once every 7 days. Description: God has heard your voice. As I understood it before, you consume materials to obtain the item you wish for. It's called making a wish, but it's more like an exchange, and whether the exchange will succeed depends on whether the other party is willing to give it to you. This is not a completely advantageous thing, but the wishes they make are all things they don't have and desperately need. There are risks involved, but that's in line with the rules of this world. Fang Hao thought for a moment, then opened the buildings section and began selecting the item to wish for. Although they are called items, you can only choose materials, crystals, and recruitment materials. The imagined hero and equipment items are completely unselectable, but upon reflection, it's quite understandable. Orange blueprint buildings, made from rare and special materials, are actually no less valuable than equipment. Especially since I own Hundredfold amplification, the materials are exactly what I need. I thought about what I needed. After thinking it over, I realized I need dragon crystals and a forgotten soul. Dragon crystals are used to recruit bone dragons, while forgotten souls can be used to recruit tier 10 troop types. Nisbet. Due to recent conflicts with the dragons, they could fly over at any time. Fang Hao still planned to use this first exchange to acquire dragon crystals. Wish. Dragon crystal 3. Materials. Tough wood 100, low success rate. After placing 100 units of tough wood, the dragon crystal became 3. Furthermore, a low success rate message appeared at the end of the materials. It seems that the type, quantity, and value of the materials also affect the number of items that can be wished for and the success rate. Fang Hao then tried several different materials. Wish, 5 dragon crystals. Materials, 100 fine stone bricks, low success rate. Reaching the level of fine stone bricks, the number of dragon crystals increased to 5, but the success rate remained very low. Next, Fang Hao tested several other materials. Materials of the same grade. From ores, a relatively large amount of dragon crystals can be obtained. 100 units of cast iron block were put on the shelves, bringing the total number of dragon crystals to 8. 100 units of fine iron. The amount of dragon crystal is 15. However, the success rate has not improved significantly. Fang Hao doesn't consider himself good at gambling on probabilities. He used to play mobile games and got so badly gacha pulls that he almost deleted the game. Therefore, in the current early stage, I am in dire need of dragon crystals. Such a low probability of success is not a good choice. Fang Hao cleared the materials section and started experimenting with other items to see if they could replace the building's materials. Finally, Fang Hao found something useful. Dragon Crystal 45. Materials. Bloodstone 100 of 100. High success rate. It turns out that recruitment materials can also be used as research materials. Moreover, the success rate has reached an advanced level. Fang Hao continued to replace the remaining recruitment materials. Beast Tooth Stone can be exchanged for 42 dragon crystals, Ogre Stone for 44, Gray Iron Stone for 43, and Soul Crystal for 42. As for the remaining recruitment materials, there were less than 100 of them. There's no way to check the quantity of dragon crystals. Looking at it this way, it's true that the exchange rate for Bloodstone is higher. Since conquering Huiwa Highlands, Bloodstone can be collected in large quantities. But the most numerous and produced stone is the Beast Tooth Stone of the orcs. After all, orcs live in vast areas and have a large population. Since it was his first time and Fang Hao urgently needed dragon crystals, he simply used 100 bloodstones. After praying silently, click OK. The stalagmite in the middle emitted a beam of light that shot straight into the sky. The light faded, and everything returned to calm. Fang Hao stood there, stunned. And then, was it a failure? Thump. As soon as he finished speaking, 45 dragon crystals appeared in the wishing pool. It was a success. Fang Hao was overjoyed. Was my luck not so bad after all? I still succeeded. Just then, footsteps sounded behind them. Air, and Jia, and many maids were all drawn to the pillar of light that had just shot into the sky. More than 10 people gathered in the distance, looking at the suddenly appearing wishing pool. Master, is this a fish pond? Air asked curiously. The other maids also stared wide-eyed, waiting curiously for the answer. Fang Hao rubbed her little head. Wishing pool. What is it used for? Air continued to ask. Making a wish means having a desire that might come true. Fang Hao explained after a moment's thought. Oh, maids replied, her curiosity growing even stronger. Fang Hao rubbed the maid's head and said, send these dragon crystals to warehouse. Oh yes, master. Maids began to carry the dragon crystal away. Fang Hao was just about to recruit Bone Dragon. Bite. Lord's book had already issued a notification sound. Upon opening it, I found it was from Li Rong. The undead have begun their attack, and the battlefield is in chaos. Humans were clearly at a disadvantage from the start. Fang Hao's heart tightened. The war has begun. So suddenly, why did Otis choose this time to start the war? Was he waiting for the auction to end? Possibly. But what impact would an auction have on the battlefield? Fang Hao replied immediately, saying, are you safe? He's not dead yet, but it's hard to say. What's the situation with the humans? How long can they hold out? Fang Hao continued to press. There was a brief pause over there. Then he replied, humanity has mobilized a large number of troops, and the 6 bishops of the church have a strong ability to deal with the undead. I can't say how many days they can hold out, but it seems they can hold out for a short time. Do you need me to pick you up? Several more minutes passed. Li Rong replied, we're not in the city, and you can't teleport here. When I feel there's danger, you can pick me up when I return to the city. Can. Fang Hao thought for a moment, then took out various potions and a pendant. Unclean Magnet Amulet, orange. Category, Amulet. Ability, Wound Healing plus 70%. Description, Eternal Knight crafted an amulet from unclean divine power and will forever protect his friends. This is the orange charm obtained during the conquest of Huiwa Highlands. Fang Hao has never had the chance to use it before, but now he can lend it to Li Rong for use. After all, Li Rong's body is that of an ordinary human being. Even a minor injury could be fatal to her. This amulet can protect her safety very well. After thinking it over, he immediately sent a message to Li Rong. Li Rong, I've traded some things over. Wear the amulet around your neck, and don't let anyone see it, to avoid any further trouble. Don't let others see it. Besides fearing that others would covet it, the pendant was also because it belonged to the vampire clan, which could easily attract trouble. Li Rong replied, 1. Fang Hao directly specified the transaction, sending the potions, bandages, and amulets directly to him. Soon, a reply came from the other end. Oh my god, orange equipment. Is it a token of our love? Don't worry, I've hidden it in my chest. No one can see it. This guy, he started again now. Li Rong's figure isn't exactly voluptuous, but she used to hide a cigarette pack in the middle of her chest. Hiding a talisman pendant shouldn't be a problem. At least you shouldn't be able to see it unless you peel it open. Fang Hao replied, I borrowed it from you. You have to pay me back when you get back. Me. Hang up the chat. Fang Hao found Dimitrika in Lord's Manor, released the teleportation light screen, and disappeared from the spot. Blood Fortress. The two walked out from the light screen. Then they heard the sound of army footsteps moving outside the castle, as well as the dull thud of cranes lifting heavy objects. Fang Hao was startled and quickly walked out of the castle. Then they saw large groups of army soldiers being mobilized on a massive scale. Led by Kong Yong, several transmigrators are constantly making various devices. Upon seeing Fang Hao appear with Dimitrika, Kong Yong immediately dropped what he was doing and ran over. Boss, Commander Dimitrika. Kong Yong wiped his hands, his face beaming. Kong Yong was a transmigrator enslaved by the vampires. Later, he cooperated with the army to conquer Blood Fortress and became a subordinate city lord under Fang Hao. The remaining transmigrators included those originally stationed in the Huiyue Highlands, as well as those who had lost their cities and were subsequently transferred here. Fang Hao nodded. What's going on here? Kong Yong replied. I don't know the specifics. Lady Amanda has ordered preparations for battle, and now the entire army and logistics in the city have been mobilized. It seems that Amanda has also deduced something from the movements of the Otis army. Amanda is really vigilant in this regard. Yes, Necropolis has gone to war with humans. You guys take care of logistics. Just be careful. Fang Hao instructed Kong Yong. Okay, boss. Where is Amanda? Fang Hao continued to ask. Kong Yong pointed to the area in front of the army. I just looked over there. Send someone to call Amanda and the others over. I'll wait for them in Hall Castle. Good. Kong Yong beckoned over a greatsword infantry member and whispered a few instructions to him. The infantry then rushed towards Amanda and the others. Hall, the castle. Amanda, Lorana, and Bloodhunter arrived quickly. After exchanging greetings, Fang Hao stated directly, Otis has already started a war with humanity. Amanda nodded. Otis's army has been making obvious and frequent moves, and I'm ready to attack. They had also been planning the Otis Great Necropolis for some time. Amanda also deployed a large number of personnel, including human soldiers and spirit-binding guards, to investigate the other side's territory. Today, based on various intelligence reports, she sensed something was wrong and guessed that a fight might have already broken out, and they are prepared to invade the enemy's territory at any time. Fang Hao thought for a moment and said, Well, I'll gather more heroes and manpower from the surrounding areas in the next couple of days to support this attack. He paused briefly, then continued, Have you considered how to communicate with humans after the war begins? The human world is relatively stable. Unlike the chaos caused by trolls and orcs, Fang Hao didn't want to start a war without any reason. Peaceful coexistence is actually a good diplomatic approach. They communicate with humans because they are also spirits of the dead. Avoid misunderstandings with humans. Once war breaks out, it's necessary to let humanity know in advance that their side is not Otis. Otherwise, once they're blinded by rage, it's hard to stop. Amanda's tone remained calm as she spoke softly. We have already discussed this. Before the war begins, Miss Rebecca will deliver Blood Fortress's letter of allegiance to the Human Federation. I imagine the Federation needs an ally right now to help them share the burden. Amanda's idea is actually quite easy to understand. Otis's attack was premeditated and well-prepared. Anyone with common sense knows that the chances of humanity winning are slim. The Federation, which has not found any allies, will naturally not refuse an ally to help them share the pressure of Otis. Even former enemies, the vampires. Moreover, Amanda and Lorana have also come up with a fairly complete plan. Lorana, acting on behalf of the owner of Blood Fortress, has allied with the Human Federation. After the Otis Great Necropolis was occupied, the territory was disposed of by the Blood Fortress. This alliance agreement was delivered to the Federation Council by Rebecca in her capacity as the Lord of Lysis. In the middle, Rebecca could also be added for her contribution in finding allies for the Federation. The Human Federation will not refuse this alliance, and after the battle ends, it can also allow the restored Hunleiner kingdom to re-establish diplomatic relations with humanity. Both sides are conducting normal trade exchanges. This idea is quite good. Even if humans distrust vampires, they will be forced to accept this alliance. As for Fang Hao, they helped humanity defeat the Undead and gained final control over the Otis Great Necropolis. They also got what they needed. Dimitrika, what do you think of this idea? Fang Hao looked to the side. Dimitrika sat upright, only turning his head slightly when asked a question. The two ladies' plans are very thoughtful. Of course, you can also have someone pass on some messages to facilitate this cooperation. Oh, what news? For example, Otis may be hiding more army members or planning an attack on Silverwing City. Once those nobles feel threatened, they will be even more desperate for allies, Dimitrika said softly. Fang Hao nodded. That's a good idea too. Have you informed Rebecca about this? Rebecca and Lorana have a communicating relationship, which he pretends not to know. Rebecca was also involved in the discussion, and she will immediately relay the information to Parliament once it is finalized, Lorana said. Fang Hao continued. When should Rebecca send the message? Amanda thought for a moment and replied, the day after tomorrow. That would be too early. The other side will still have many concerns. After the message is delivered, the council may have 2 or 3 days to discuss it, and then we can sign a peace agreement with Lorana and send troops. Forehead. The plan is indeed well organized. With sufficient supplies and equipment, humanity should be able to withstand the onslaught for a period of time without any problems. Okay, let's do it this way. Fang Hao thought for a moment and said, I'll arrange for army and other personnel to come over in the next 2 days to prepare for the attack. Thank you, sir. Amanda stood up and bowed respectfully. Fang Hao smiled and waved his hand, indicating that the other person didn't need to do that. Return to the main city. Fang Hao was still pondering the details of the war. The dead appear frail and devoid of various emotions, but they are also all old and shrewd, each one an immortal monster who has lived for over 100 years, and they must have experienced a lot. We still need to pay some attention to Otis. After careful consideration, Fang Hao directly opened Lord's book. A message was edited within the territory channel. Zhang Bin, Dong Jieyue, Fu Lei, Tang Qi, the 4 of you. Select some of your transmigrators and set off tomorrow morning to assemble here immediately. We have a mission for them. Soon, someone replied. Zhang Bin, received, boss. Dong Jieyue, received. Fu Lei, received. Tang Qi, received. After the 4 people received the message one after another, the once quiet territory channel immediately erupted in excitement again. Master Fang Hao, what's the purpose of mobilizing so many transmigrators? Spring has arrived. It should be time to plant crops. God, farming? How many transmigrators know how to farm? I guess there's going to be a war. Who are they attacking? The people they've transferred are heading to the main city of the big shots. It doesn't seem like they're attacking anyone. I heard that the human frontier and the undead have gone to war. I guess I'm supporting one side or the other. Who are we supporting? Humans, I suppose. Nonsense. The big boss is from Undead faction. Why would he support humanity? Nonsense. They're calling in humans. They can't help the undead. You're the one talking nonsense. Fang Hao glanced at the lively channel and was just about to close Lord's book. The private message notification then went off. It was a message from Zhang Bin. I opened it and took a look. Boss, something bad has happened. The construct task you assigned me to has failed. How did it fail? That technologist, I don't know what he was researching. He blew himself up in the explosion, Zhang Bin replied. Fang Hao was slightly taken aback. Then, he realized what was happening. He immediately followed up with, was the explosion powerful? Sir, the person is definitely dead. I searched for other people in the village, but I didn't find anything. The connection to construct is probably broken. Transmigrators like Zhang Bin, even knowing that Fang Hao is an undead faction, can recruit undead troop types. However, the undead's buildings don't actually understand the rules. Therefore, Zhang Bin focused his attention on the construct task line. Fang Hao, on the other hand, focuses more on the technician himself. No, I mean, is the body intact? Oh, the body was in pieces, but the villagers should have collected it and buried it, Zhang Bin continued. Where are you? Fang Hao asked. I'm in my own city. This news was brought back by the guards I arranged in that village. Fang Hao thought for a moment and said, let's go there together tomorrow morning and see if this technician has left any blueprints. Okay, boss. After hanging up the chat, Fang Hao immediately closed Lord's book. Go to the skeleton transformation field again. The dragons pose a potential threat to the territory. High mobility and formidable strength. Although their territory is currently kept secret from the dragon race. The world is so big, and there are so many transmigrators. Determining their place is not an easy task for the dragon race. But all of this is temporary. Who can guarantee that the dragons have no tools or spells for detection and tracking, or that they obtain any useful information from the transmigrators? Therefore, it is necessary to be prepared and wait for the dragons to arrive at any time. Arrive at the skeleton transformation field and select recruit. 45 Dragon Crystals. There are two types of troops that can be recruited: Skeleton Pseudo-Dragon Guard, Tier 6, and Bone Dragon, Tier 10. The Skeleton Pseudo-Dragon Guard is of little use to the current territory. Furthermore, the quantity of Dragon Crystals is limited, and there are no plans to recruit them. Recruit Bone Dragon directly. Bone Dragon, Wriggling Spine 10, Traces of Death 7, Starlight Silver 5, Dragon Crystal 10. The recruitment quota has been adjusted to 4. Recruitment confirmed. Hundredfold amplification triggered. Recruit Bone Dragon 404. The next second, the sky above suddenly darkened. Groups of bone dragons appeared, some landing on the ground, others hovering in the air. Some even trampled the roof of the shed and flattened the seedlings in the flower beds on both sides. Everyone, assemble outside the East City. Fang Hao shouted. Whoosh, whoosh. Gusts of wind howled as the bone dragons flew out of the city. Fang Hao also called over the blacksmith Kulin along the way, and together they headed out of the city. Outside the city, an open space, 404 bone dragons stood scattered around. Fang Hao looked at the number of bone dragons and nodded in satisfaction. Although 404 heads isn't a large number, they can play a significant role in the battle against the dragons and later in the fight against Otis. Tell Kulin to wait a moment. He then opened the Lord's book and found the bone dragon. Equipment blueprint. Hundredfold amplification triggered. Obtain Dragon Steel Helmet 404. Hundredfold amplification triggered, granting Dragon Steel Armor 404. Hundredfold amplification triggered. Obtain Dragon Steel Claw Armor 404. Hundredfold amplification triggered, granting 404 Dragon Steel Tail Armor and Tail Spikes. A vast number of dragon equipment appeared, piling up all around the open ground. Kulin, gather all the blacksmiths here, and then equip Bone Dragon with the armor, Fang Hao instructed. Bone Dragon, being a troop type, cannot wear equipment on its own. They need to be put on manually. Yes, sir. Kulin went back and summoned all the blacksmiths to begin dressing Bone Dragon in equipment. Fang Hao stood aside, watching everyone busy. Bone Dragon's white steel equipment is actually a bit outdated. It would be difficult to unleash the full power of a troop type like Bone Dragon. Purple armor would be the best choice, as it would better protect Bone Dragon's body. However, this dragon armor is not something that can be obtained easily. Should we wear masks and go check out the Dragon Clan shop? No, that's too risky. If the dragons find out, we'll have to fight them on the spot. How about sending someone else? Ideally, someone who doesn't associate themselves with their own race. No, when you show the invitation card, the cardholder's information will be displayed, so it's still easy to be exposed. This is difficult. He did not participate in the work of Kulin and others, and returned directly to Lord's Manor. After dinner, Fang Hao patted his stomach, just about to go for a hot spring bath. The communicating conch shell sent another message. When I put it to my ear, I immediately heard Rebecca's sullen voice. You've forgotten about me, haven't you? Take me with you. Fang Hao smiled slightly, released the doll, and activated the teleportation light screen. A mature and beautiful figure immediately stepped out from the light screen. The next day, early morning, a cavalry team composed of Lionheart Knights. They were speeding along a narrow dirt road. Finally, the outline of a village came into view ahead of the road. Boss, that village is just ahead. We should have someone notify us in advance, Zhang Bin said loudly. Fang Hao nodded, signaling cavalry to slow down. The cavalry here has also attracted the attention of the village. The farmer hurriedly returned to the village, where some villagers carrying hoes and pitchforks climbed the walls built of logs and adobe bricks. Zhang Bin, you've been here twice. Take some men and go over there, and let them know, Fang Hao said. Good. Zhang Bin, accompanied by 2 cavalry, continued to approach the village on horseback. Since Zhang Bin had visited before, the communication didn't require much effort. A short while later, Zhang Bin waved in this direction, indicating that we could approach. It is near the village. The cavalry team camped outside the village, and Fang Hao, Zhang Bin, Asidi, and 5 other cavalry members went directly into the village. The village is not large, with a population of about 100 people. They were all gathered at the city gate, watching this unexpected visitor. The village is full of ordinary farmers. The few people carrying weapons are considered militia in the village. Just then, a man with somewhat disheveled hair rushed over. My lords, please come in. The man gestured for them to enter. Fang Hao still vaguely remembered this person. He was the merchant who had previously gone to Zhang Bin's territory to sell construct. Being a businessman makes one more shrewd than the average farmer. They weren't that vigilant. Zhangbin also said, "This time we brought some daily necessities, and we plan to exchange them for some furs and seeds with you. There aren't many agricultural products in the village this season. The items exchanged were mainly furs and seeds." "No problem, no problem." Lionheart Knights opened his backpack and dumped out all the tools and implements made by Fang Hao. Farm tools are still very popular in the village, and there's no worry about them not selling. The merchants took a look and found that many of them were useful. He immediately called on everyone in the village to bring out their belongings if they wanted to exchange them. Before long, beast hide, seeds, and some other strange and unusual things were brought out. Zhangbin also exchanged them one by one. After the exchange, Zhangbin still had a large number of items left. "Look at this. Do you have anything else? I can't take these back with me." Zhangbin looked troubled. The villagers whispered among themselves for a while. Someone whispered a few words in the businessman's ear, and the latter nodded slightly. Then, the villagers left. When he returned, he had several wicker baskets filled with various mechanical parts. Some were clearly damaged, while others were in relatively good condition. The merchant glanced at the group of people in front of him and said, "These are some parts from Construct. Take a look and see if you need anything. We'll calculate the price based on the last exchange." Zhangbin glanced at Fang Hao. Then he crouched down and started rummaging through it. It contains only parts. There are no blueprints or finished products, but they found 2 energy cores inside. Zhangbin's exchange of goods brought smiles to the faces of the villagers. It seems that the cooperation between the two parties has been quite pleasant. Zhangbin continued, "I heard that the village's technician had an accident. May we go and pay our respects?" "Of course, I'll have someone take you there." "No need, just give us directions, and we'll head straight back after this is over." "Oh, it's just north of the village, the one with the patery tombstone," the merchant said. "Okay, then we'll be leaving now." After saying this, the group left the village with the villagers seeing them off and headed north of the village. Heading north, we passed through a dense forest. Soon we saw the cemetery the villagers had mentioned. The villagers, unlike the city nobles, have no cemeteries. They simply fenced off a piece of land in a similar area to bury the villagers. Patery's gravestone is easy to find. The stone tablets are all new. Fang Hao glanced around. No other villagers had followed. They took out shovels and distributed them. "Dig. The soil is not as hard as it is in winter during this season." A few Lionheart Knights dug down and soon found the coffin buried in the ground. Technicians still hold a certain status in the village. Although the coffin was simple, it was sturdy enough. "Open." The coffin lid was pushed open, revealing the pieced-together corpse inside. He died in the explosion. The body was clearly divided into sections and arranged in a human shape. From Fang Hao's perspective, the limbs are still relatively intact. If the coffin had just been carried out, the sudden movement would have caused chaos. "Check it over. See if the body is intact." A Lionheart Knight jumped down and pinched the clothes covering him. After inspecting it thoroughly, he said, "Sir, it's fairly intact." "All right, close the coffin lid." The coffin lid was closed again, and Fang Hao stored it directly in his storage space. Afterwards, the pit that had been dug was filled back in, trying to make it look the same as before. After all, digging up graves is not a respectable thing anywhere. In the future, Zhangbin may still have dealings with the villages here, and being labeled a corpse thief will damage his reputation. Once everything is settled, Fang Hao and the others rode away again, returning to Zhangbin's territory, and used magic to teleport back to the main city. Returned to the main city, Fang Hao immediately rushed to the skeleton transformation field. Whether or not we can convert them into skeleton technicians depends on this opportunity. They went straight to the transformation pool and threw the person, coffin and all, into the sand. The sand in the pool began to boil, gradually swallowing the corpses that had been thrown in. The wooden coffin remained lying flat there, unchanged. The conversion time is 2 hours and 30 minutes. It's still quite a long time. Fang Hao glanced at the time, 11:30. "I'll be there in a bit." Returned to Lord's Manor. Li Rong sent another message. The undead attacked for a day and a night, and the Federation army's defenses were forced to retreat under the onslaught. That's how the undead fight. They are tireless and can fight you for long periods of time, day and night. But humans are different. They need rest, food, water, and bodily functions. The best way is to fight in shifts, but that still creates opportunities for the undead. The federal government was already at a disadvantage, and this situation only made that disadvantage more pronounced. Were they driven back to the city? Fang Hao asked. "Not yet. The battle lines have just retreated, But we're still holding on, Li Rong replied. Fang Hao nodded, thought for a moment, and continued. I've also come up with a plan. I intend to take this opportunity to attack Otis' great necropolis from Huiwa Highlands and conquer this area in one fell swoop. That's great. Relying on the Federation, I'm afraid we can't win. But we can't attack rashly, otherwise we'll also be undead. And if a fight breaks out, there's a high chance we'll end up fighting the Federation as well. Fang Hao continued. Li Rong paused for a few seconds, then understood what he meant. Oh, what should we do? Fang Hao continued. I will have Huiwa Highlands and the Human Federation sign an alliance to jointly attack Otis' great necropolis, so that they will have a better understanding of the situation. Then sign it. Do you think those nobles will see the situation as clearly as we do? If we go to sign now, they won't agree. Then what should we do? I need you to find a way to leak some information to the federal government, so they know they are in danger. What fake news? I'm a businessman, I don't lie. Otis's attack at this time is to wait for the Merchant Alliance auction to end, buy the items they need, and then use them in battle to directly crush the Federation army and capture Silverwing City. After Fang Hao finished speaking, he immediately followed up with a second sentence. That's the gist of it. You can elaborate a bit. The more serious, the better. There was silence on the other end. After a long while, Li Rong replied, Is it true that you directly crushed the Alliance army and captured Silverwing City? Clearly, judging from her tone, she was somewhat frightened. Fang Hao replied, I made it up, but attacking at this time might actually mean there's some hidden plan. Wah, I want to go home. Bullshit. I'll come pick you up if you're in danger. Don't forget to make it sound serious. I understand. Dong Jiayue was credited with the greatest contribution in the last attack on the dwarves. I risked my life to gather intelligence for you. It wouldn't be right not to give me credit for this. Don't worry, this credit is yours. Fang Hao sent it immediately. Li Rong's situation is indeed very dangerous. This time, she deserves credit for her efforts. Okay, on the other side, Li Rong hung up the chat and let out a heavy sigh. She had just been relieved from the front lines and was exhausted, her energy depleted from continuous spellcasting. But she can't rest yet. Reopen the chat, find Xiao Jingji's private message, and send him the things Fang Hao had just told you, embellishing them. Have his trusted confidant relay this to Suhaid. I leaned against the bed and thought for a while. He splashed some cold water on his face again and said to Dark Elf beside him, Let's go. Fang Hao has given us another mission. Dark Elf Morse didn't say much, stood up and followed her out. I left the room. Li Rong went to the room of the water mage Mape. A mature mage, dressed in silk with large expanses of her fair skin exposed, yawned, looking utterly exhausted. Li Rong didn't mince words and said directly, I've received some information that Otis plans to arrange for the army to use the vampire territory to launch a flanking attack on Pearl City in the north. The mature mage, who had been yawning incessantly, frowned, and a serious look appeared in his eyes. Where did you get the information? Li Rong replied. From the Transmigrators side. We have Transmigrators. The channel usually has many people chatting there. I've seen it occasionally, but I don't know if it's real or not. The monk Mape frowned in thought. But the more he pondered, the uglier his expression became. The other end of the undead connects to the vampires. If one borrows a path from the vampires, they really did attack Pearl City directly. Has this message been communicated to the president of Jijilia? Mape asked. Li Rong shook her head. I'm not sure if it's reliable, so I came over to tell you first. Mape immediately said, regardless of whether it's true or not, let's notify President Jijilia first. Okay, half an hour later. Silverwing City, Hall of Justice Hall. Hall of Justice Leader, Doherty, Archbishop, Milton, Master of the Law Society, Jijilia. The three of them reunited. But everyone's face was filled with solemnity. Doherty spoke softly. Gentlemen, is there some news this time? Howdy. Milton and Jijilia spoke at the same time, and both of them were taken aback. Jijilia gestured for Milton to speak first. Milton spoke up, saying, I just received a message from Suhaid. Otis has new intelligence. They said that Otis recently participated in the Merchant Alliance auction and is planning to break through the Federation's defenses in one fell swoop. The other two looked rather grim. According to the timeline, Otis's attack did indeed begin on the second day of the Merchant Alliance spring auction. It's very likely that they'll wait until this auction ends. It now appears that Otis still has a backup plan, while the humans, without the help of their allies, are in a precarious situation. Doherty continued. Can you tell me what was purchased? When will Otis be eligible to participate in the Merchant Alliance headquarters auction? Milton shook his head. Nobody knows what was purchased, but the intelligence is very likely true. Doherty nodded. The intelligence that Suhaid sent back these times has been largely confirmed and is highly authentic. It greatly helped the humans in making advanced preparations. Otherwise, Otis's army would probably have already breached the defenses. This time, even though the intelligence was vague, it still had a high degree of credibility. I also dared not believe it. It seems we'll have to continue drawing troops from various cities to support the front lines, Doherty said. Milton nodded in agreement. Doherty then looked at Jagilia and asked, President Jagilia, what were you about to say? Jagilia took a deep breath. He began, We've also received some information, but we can't confirm its veracity either. Tell me about it. Some of the transmigrators have discovered that Otis's army is intentionally using the vampires' Huiwe Highlands as a route to launch an attack southward from the city of Prol on the other side. The entire room fell silent once again. Compared to Milton's report, Jagilia's is more accurate and consistent with the circumstances of the battle between the two sides. They just said they would transfer more people to support Shantae Yao Fortress. If the undead attack Prol again, even if we organize troops now, it will probably be difficult to support Prol and set up defenses in a short time. Both pieces of intelligence are quite ruthless. They all hit their weak points. Moreover, these two pieces of intelligence do not conflict and can be processed simultaneously. For vampires, the undead are closer. It is possible for both sides to join forces. At that time, the Human Federation will truly be doomed. I will send people to gather information on these two pieces of intelligence. Doherty thought for a moment and continued. I will immediately notify Prol City to send more people to guard the border, and at the same time, I will have nearby cities send army to provide support. That's all we can do for now. Milton nodded in agreement. If these two pieces of information are true, even if we tell them now, there isn't really a good solution. We can only hope that the other party's plan will be implemented later, giving them some time to find a solution. The atmosphere in the hall was somewhat oppressive. The three leaders discussed the matter in hushed tones in this atmosphere. They are making various guesses and speculations, as well as devising ways to deal with it. Main City. After lunch, all the necessary instructions were given. The conversion time is almost up. Whether the technician can succeed and whether they can use airships in the upcoming attack on Necropolis depends on today. Arrive at the transformation field. A lifeless-looking human skeleton was now standing there. He is rather short and has a slight hunchback. Seeing that there was no soul fire in his eyes, Fang Hao's heart tightened. You should know that the skeleton technician he met at Merchant Alliance headquarters before had soul fire. Not only does he have expertise in construction, but he can also inspect instruments. They possess high intelligence and relevant skills. Now, this skeleton standing still, motionless, no different from an ordinary undead skeleton, doesn't seem like the state a technician should be in. With a somewhat apprehensive feeling, Fang Hao walked over. Skeleton technician, level 4. Faction, undead. Racial traits. Undead, hollow skeleton, light weakness. Skill, repair da. Inherent abilities. Basic construct repair, basic construct manipulation dot. Repair technique. Possesses certain knowledge of constructs and can inspect and repair damaged constructs. Note: skeleton soldiers transformed from corpses retain their original characteristics and attack patterns. 4th tier. The skeleton technician I saw last time was a 7th level technician. It's 3 orders below. It possesses a skill called healing. It can repair damaged constructs, which is actually a useful capability. When construct enters the battlefield later, this technician can also repair structures. As for Fang Hao wanting to start the airship, that's pretty much it. Among its inherent abilities is a basic construct manipulation. Even if it's not incredibly sophisticated, it should be able to control things like moving forward, backward, and turning. Come on, come with me outside, Fang Hao ordered. The skeleton technician stood frozen, following behind Fang Hao. They walked outside together. Upon arriving at the location where numerous airships are moored, one can see some maids and Earth Spirit maidens carrying bedding onto the airships to air it out. They chose an airship that was far away and not being used. Carrying the skeleton, they climbed straight up. Standing on the deck, Fang Hao said, "Get into the cockpit and prepare to take control." The skeleton technician stood frozen for a second before turning and entering the wheelhouse, gripping the helm and staring blankly ahead. Fang Hao wanted to order them to advance, but then he suddenly remembered the technician who had died in the explosion. He climbed off the airship, released the demon puppet, and returned to the deck, standing next to the skeleton technician. He said directly, "Control the airship upwards." Click, click, click. The skeleton technician was operating rapidly. Buzz. The entire airship began to tremble violently, and its internal mechanisms started to function. Immediately afterwards, the airship began to rise upwards with a special energy. It worked. Fang Hao continued. Fly forward. Click. The technician took control again, and the airship began to fly forward at a very high speed, with excellent results. Turn left, turn right, go around in a circle. Fang Hao issued a series of commands, which the skeleton technician was able to control. The only slight drawback is that it requires someone to be present to give instructions. This technician without soul fire cannot be controlled independently. Alright, let's fly back. The airship changed direction and flew back. It was parked in its original position. The landing was a bit unstable, with the entire ship rocking. But overall, it's sufficient. Demon puppet flew down from the sky, and Fang Hao immediately put it away. He turned around and went back to Lord's Manor. Recruiting a large number of technicians is not something to rush into. Recruitment will take place when it is necessary to go to Blood Fortress. In the afternoon, transmigrators began to arrive one after another. Fang Hao had Dimitrika give them some pre-battle training, while also waiting for the transmigrators, who were a bit further away. Lord's Hall. Fang Hao sat in a chair, with the Merchant Alliance goblin Kukti Tor beside him. Kukti Tor smiled and spoke in a high-pitched voice. Mr. Fang Hao, the Merchant Alliance has conducted investigations and negotiated with the dragons these past 2 days, but things are not going well. Oh, what do you mean? Fang Hao asked. The dragons are using various means to find your information and the location of your territory. After hiring Lorana and Amanda to make things easier, Merchant Alliance headquarters has also increased its focus on itself. They also knew that Fang Hao, although a transmigrators, possessed power that should not be underestimated. This world respects the strong, especially the tough ones. For several days, no one from Merchant Alliance bothered them. Tonight, we've arranged for Kukti Tor, the person in charge of outpost number 032, to come over and convey some information. He heard the other party mention that the Dragon Clan was investigating him. Fang Hao also became interested. After the maid brought tea and pastries, he asked directly, "Are the dragons looking for me?" Kukti Tor smiled wryly. "As you know, the dragons are always tough and unreasonable. This time, when we sent people to investigate the battle, we were pressured by the other side, who demanded that the Merchant Alliance provide you with information about your territory and location. Merchant Alliance rules are sometimes designed for ordinary members. Forces like the dragons usually obey the rules, but once something happens, it's hard to do anything about them. Let's fight, but we might not win. Sanction them, or you'll provoke the dragons and things will get very difficult to handle." Therefore, in the beginning, Merchant Alliance planned to suppress Fang Hao in order to pacify the Dragon Clan. Unexpectedly, Fang Hao proved to be a tough opponent, so they reverted to the neutral Merchant Alliance. So how did the Merchant Alliance handle it? Fang Hao continued to ask. If Merchant Alliance intends to leak information to the dragons, then he must now set up defenses to withstand the dragons' attack. This is really not a favorable time. Fighting both Otis and the Dragon Clan simultaneously would put a lot of pressure on me. It could even be dangerous. As if sensing Fang Hao's concerns, Kukti Tor immediately said, "Mr. Fang Hao, rest assured, Merchant Alliance is a neutral force. Although it will provide some mediation for its allies, it will never disclose members' intelligence or information due to external factors. Provide mediation. Last time, when Grey Iron City was attacked, Merchant Alliance stepped in to mediate. However, Fang Hao did not admit it at the time, so the matter was left unresolved." Fang Hao nodded. "That's good. Although I'm not afraid of the dragons, I don't want to have a direct conflict with them at this time." Fang Hao was well aware of his own strengths and weaknesses. The territory excels in land combat, but when facing a race that is strong in aerial combat, its advantage becomes much weaker. Therefore, he wants to delay. The dragon crystals were dragged to the wishing pool and produced in large quantities, with the number of bone dragons reaching thousands, tens of thousands, and even millions. At that time, even if it's just a staged collision in midair, it could wipe out the entire dragon race. Kukti Tor sighed softly. Dragons are vengeful. Although the Merchant Alliance won't reveal it, they might find out about your situation through other means. So it's best to negotiate with the dragons. Even though Fang Hao is not weak, Kukti Tor does not believe he will be a match for the dragons. Is there a possibility of peace talks? Perhaps we can give it a try, Kukti Tor replied. Fang Hao shook his head slightly. This kind of thing is difficult to mediate, especially when the dragon clan thinks you are weaker than them. How's Merchant Alliance's investigation going in this matter? Fang Hao continued, not intending to discuss the settlement further. From what we've seen so far, it's basically consistent with what you've told us. Once the results are out, we'll determine responsibility, and you and the Dragon Clan will have to bear the cost of repairing the buildings, as well as the Merchant Alliance's fine. Would the Dragon Clan pay this money? Fang Hao asked curiously. The dragons are currently behaving quite forcefully, and since they're angry, would they really compensate you? But Kukti Tor smiled and said, they will compensate. The Merchant Alliance is not as weak as you think. Force may not be able to deal with the dragons, but if the dragons want to sell items through the Merchant Alliance, they will have to pay compensation. That makes sense now. Business is also a form of warfare, and merchant alliances have become an indispensable part of development and competition in the equipment industry. That makes sense. Kukti Tor continued. I've mainly come here to discuss this matter. There's nothing else. Fang Hao nodded, then remembered something. Leaning forward, he said directly, Mr. Kukti Tor, I would like to purchase the buildings of Mana Core. I wonder if there's any way to buy blueprint. Kukti Tor was taken aback. You want to buy buildings? Blueprint? Yes. Is there any way to do this? I've been to many places recently, but I haven't seen it. Fang Hao continued. Kukti Tor stroked his beardless chin. This kind of blueprint is only sold at Merchant Alliance auctions. You definitely won't find it on the market. You'll just have to wait for the next auction and try your luck then. Is there no other way? Fang Hao sighed. This airship is facing many difficulties. With the technician in place, energy core has become a new problem. Kukti Tor thought for a moment and said, it's not that there's no way. You just want energy cores, right? Merchant Alliance Outpost sells these cores in bulk to technicians all over the world. I can arrange to add you to that list so you can buy a fixed amount of cores every month. Fang Hao's eyes lit up. This was indeed a solution to their current predicament. Once I obtain the energy core and have my own blueprint to produce it, I can stop purchasing it. That's feasible. How much does this core cost? It's not expensive, 220 Warfire coins each. These kinds of consumables are usually not too expensive, Kukti Tor said. Energy core can be understood as a battery. As a consumable item sold in bulk, its price is unlikely to be outrageous. But 220 isn't actually that low. The price is already blue. The price of the equipment. For someone like Fang Hao who sells equipment in large quantities, 220 is still acceptable. However, in the eyes of natives, whose equipment requires hand forging, 220 is definitely not cheap. How much can I buy at once? Fang Hao continued to ask. Kukti Tor said, it needs to be reported and approved by the Merchant Alliance, especially since your matter with the dragons hasn't been resolved yet. Here's what I'll do. I'll set aside 10 and sell them to you first. Okay, then I'll have Du Jin go with you to buy it later. After finishing their business, the two discussed Fang Hao's business plans. As dusk approached, Fang Hao presented Kukti Tor with two very elegant-looking gold-plated vases, and Kukti Tor left happily. Du Jin also went over to buy energy core. Late at night, Silverwing City. Doherty, the leader of the Hall of Justice, tiptoed back to his bedroom. At this time, he didn't want to be blamed for disturbing his wife's sweet dreams. However, I had just walked to the bedside. Then they saw Olivia sitting there, her eyes fixed on Doherty as he approached. A light, sheer dress partially concealed her enviable, voluptuous figure. Though partially hidden, it could not obscure the spring sunshine. So you finally decided to come back. If I hadn't known you were with the Archbishop, I would have taken people to catch you in the act. Olivia's tone was somewhat unfriendly. She was clearly full of resentment towards her husband, who had rarely come home these past few days. Doherty gave an awkward smile, immediately stepped forward, and pulled his wife into his arms. The border conflict has been tense lately, and I'm quite overwhelmed with work. He and his wife have a very good relationship, and Olivia also comes from a prominent family. No matter how unwilling I am to talk about it, I will explain it to her. The war is so intense, you're not going home, Olivia said again. No. Doherty put his arm around her again. It's so late. Why aren't you asleep yet? This bed is so cold. How am I supposed to sleep by myself? Olivia retorted coldly. Doherty immediately understood what he meant. He held his wife on the bed. Olivia put her arm around his neck and asked softly, is something happening at the front? You can't go there and risk your life. Even knowing that her husband was the leader, She was unwilling to let him go to the front lines. Oh no, more intelligence has arrived. The undead have a backup plan. Silverwing City isn't safe anymore, Doherty replied. What's wrong? Aren't we at the border? How come Silverwing City is in danger? Doherty continued. Intelligence suggests that Otis plans to bypass the vampire territory and attack from the north. If they can't muster enough troops, even Silverwing City could be in danger. How is this possible? The information is unclear, so don't tell anyone. Also, tell your family members not to leave the city for the time being, in case there is any real danger. Okay, the two suddenly fell silent, both looking worried. It was just an unconscious repetition of an unfinished action. After a long silence, Olivia continued. Then isn't Rebecca in great danger? There's no need to worry about that. I've already notified Lysis to strengthen its defenses and send troops to support Prol, Doherty continued. Olivia was about to speak. A soft knocking sound came from outside the door. Sir, someone from the church has come and requests your presence. The sudden stop caused both of them to freeze in shock. Helpless, Doherty could only smile apologetically and put on her clothes. He whispered a few words of comfort to his wife and then left. The beautiful woman, still lingering in the afterglow, lay on the bed staring at the ceiling. After thinking about it, I turned over and sat up. He found a communicating conch shell in a nearby cabinet, put it to his mouth, and said, Rebecca, you're in danger over there. Take your little husband and come to me. Council chamber. Archbishop Milton had been waiting anxiously for some time. Seeing Doherty approaching, he hurriedly said, Suhaid has more news. The undead have begun negotiating with the vampires, and their cooperation seems unlikely to be stopped. How could this be? The next day, inside the main city, a considerable number of transmigrators have already gathered and arrived. They were all subordinate city lords recruited by Zhang Bin, Dong Jieyue, and others, and were considered members within the territory. When these people arrived here, everyone was nearly stunned. Wow, so many undead in the boss's territory. This place is a gathering place of energy, with heavy malevolent aura. What's so heavy about it? It's good to be an undead and live forever. It's not just the dead. You weren't here yesterday, and an orange. The lizard man heroes trained us. Their armor was so impressive. I also saw an orange undead hero, holding a scepter, which was quite scary. The boss's strength is unfathomable. Inside Lord's Manor, Fang Hao sat in the head seat, with several heroes and Dong Jieyue seated below him. Originally, Dong Jieyue was not involved. Only some scattered transmigrators were brought in to assist in the operation. But Dong Jieyue volunteered to come, and he had previous experience attacking Grey Iron City. They are also more familiar with commanding transmigrators. Fang Hao thought it made sense, and since she didn't have anything going on, it was good for her to join in. The number of people below looks about right. Fang Hao began to explain the reason why everyone was transferred here. Otis's ambitions and the high bone tax imposed on humanity. In addition, there's Amanda's previous identity and aspirations. They explained it all very clearly. Therefore, when Otis goes to war with the Human Federation, we will advance from north to south, directly into the border of the Otis Great Necropolis, and begin our attack on the center. Amanda has already prepared detailed maps and plans. Once we get there, everyone will need to cooperate with Amanda's deployment to complete this battle. Yes, sir, the crowd responded in deep voices. Fang Hao nodded and continued. Nielsen, Asidi, Rochuan, Spencer, and Dong Jieyue, you will all be heading to Huiyue Highlands together later. Yes, Fang Hao nodded and continued. Frederick, Dimitrika, and Njia, the three of you will stay and guard the main city. Yes, sir, the three replied. Frederick is a dwarf skeleton, the orange hero. That is, the dwarf general in charge of the overall defense of Grey Iron City at that time. At that time, his defenses, combined with the Grey Iron City's Grey Iron Bastion, did indeed hold off the million-strong army of the undead. If it weren't for the incompetence of those dwarf nobles behind them, who all ran away as soon as they saw trouble, it will take some effort to breach the city wall. After his death in battle, Frederick was transformed into skeleton hero, who was skilled in positional defense. With the large-scale mobilization of troop type, Fang Hao transferred him here to guard the main city. After all, sometimes Fang Hao needs Dimitrika and Njia to accompany him wherever he goes, and the main city can't be without heroes. After all, there is still the potential threat of the dragon race. The instructions were mostly given, and the others had nothing to add. He then said directly, "Okay, that's the basics. Let's get ready to go." Yes. Everyone stood up and walked outside. Outside the city gates, a group of heroes emerged, causing a sensation among the transmigrators. The number of orange heroes far exceeds the number of people they see in chat. The dazzling display nearly blinded them. However, this is just the beginning. In the distance, the bone dragon and the airship appeared, flying in like dark clouds obscuring the sun. The transmigrators stared wide-eyed at the scene before them, some incredulous. "Holy crap, bone dragon, what's going on?" Nobody in the channel said the big shot has this. "This is unbelievable. What's with this hot air balloon spaceship? It has such a strong punk vibe. Are we even playing the same game? We have dragons. We have airships. This is simply incredible. Damn it. I just bought an ostrich mount a few days ago, and now this guy has so many dragons. It's infuriating. This is too exaggerated. How could there be 10th order troop type orange hero everywhere? He's definitely cheating. He's definitely cheating. It's good that the pros have cheats, so we're safe too." Yeah, the world channel is open, especially since the top 10 on the leaderboard are all foreigners. It's good to have cheaters. What does this have to do with the world channel? We must learn from history. Looking at the flying dragon and the airship that appeared before them. After their initial surprise, the transmigrators whispered among themselves. Most of the lucky transmigrators are still in the stage of accumulating resources and developing steadily. With a force of 1,000 men, they were capable of driving away wild animals, possessed 1 or 2 affiliated villages, and had enough food to survive the winter. That's already quite a good level of development. If you can own 1 or 2 heroes, regardless of their rank or level, they'll be praised to the skies in the channel. Those who manage to appear on the world rankings or establish an alliance have all encountered special opportunities. He would be a top-tier figure anywhere. But even the transmigrators within their territory allowed them to freely consider Fang Hao's strength. I never imagined swarms of bone dragons and a large number of airships. It's simply unbelievable. Ahem. Everyone, please be quiet. Amidst the murmurs of the crowd, a spirited woman clad in armor, with a fire gun at her waist and a spear slung over her back, walked over. Some of them recognized him and greeted him. Some people did not know his identity, but when they saw him coming out of the city, they knew he was an important figure in the territory. After the scene quieted down, the woman spoke loudly. "My name is Dong Jiayue. We're all on the same side, so you should have heard of me." As soon as he finished speaking, a murmur arose from below. "She is Dong Jiayue, so young. The Valkyrie who conquered Grey Iron City? We can't afford to offend them. We can't afford to offend them." Dong Jiayue continued. "This time, I will be in command of all of you. You will come here later to register, and rewards will be given according to the registered information. Similarly, those who disobey orders will be subject to military law." I don't want to say anything too harsh. It's not easy for everyone to have survived until now, so don't lose your lives over trivial matters. This, below, was complete silence. Isn't this severe enough? They've even mentioned risking one's life. After a slight pause, Dong Jiayue continued. "There's one more very important point. From this moment until the end of the mission, no one is allowed to reveal any information about this place, including chatting and sending photos. Anyone found doing so will be executed immediately." Upon hearing this, the entire room fell even quieter. This woman really dares to kill. After a long silence, someone finally raised their hand and asked, "Boss, what's our mission this time?" This is something everyone is curious about. Upon arrival, he was taken to the back of the city by a lizard man for intensive training, various commands, and the meanings of some flag signals. They were all trained once. Today, with both Bone Dragon and airships involved, they privately discussed whether they were going to war, but they were still somewhat unsure. After all, the war with the dwarves had just ended, and now there's another war going on. It's all too frequent. Dong Jiayue glanced at the man and said loudly, "This time, our mission is to help a queen reclaim lost territory. Of course, we are not needed on the battlefield. We are responsible for logistics." Queen, reclaim lost territory? Everyone extracted the key words from a single sentence. A special story mission? My queen, I don't know if it will look good. I'm in very good health. I'm willing to sacrifice myself for the development of the territory, even if it's through marriage or something. Forget it, I'll do it. Dong Jiayue began registering a group of transmigrators. Life, age, and territory location, etc. When everything was almost ready, not far away, the hero Spencer waved, signaling to the transmigrators that they could board the Bone Dragon. Dong Jieyue nodded and said loudly, "All right, everyone get on the bone dragon. Let's get ready to go." Holy crap, riding this bone dragon? Everyone was stunned again. Although riding a dragon is everyone's dream, when it's actually in front of them, they can't help but swallow hard. Holy crap, is there any danger? Go. Hurry up, what are you guys afraid of? Dong Jieyue urged them on in a low voice, catching them up one by one to Bone Dragon. Once everything is ready, the leading bone dragons soared into the sky. One after another, the bone dragons behind them soared into the sky. They left behind phrases like, "Oh my God," "Help," and so on. Disappeared. The airship followed closely behind, flying towards Huiyue Highlands. Standing on city wall, watching the airship disappear into the distance. As a vehicle, the airship is not very maneuverable. The idea of setting up a cannon on an airship was also influenced by a game called Red Alert. Kirov Airship. It is an airship capable of dropping bombs downwards, possessing astonishing power. Unlike the world of Red Alert, this world has a large number of flights. Troop type. This poses a threat to airships with poor maneuverability. Whether it will achieve the desired effect on the battlefield remains to be seen. If the effect is not good, therefore, airships can only be used for transportation. He only stepped off city wall after the last airship had disappeared. I had just stepped down the stairs and went straight back to Lord's Manor. Last time, I ranked first on all 3 lists and received 3 rewards. 2 items have already been used. One last thing is missing. Spectacular Buildings Blueprint, Holy Spirit City. A blueprint that can only be used when your castle reaches level 15. Back in Lord's Manor, Fang Hao immediately checked the building's property. Level 12 Lordstone Fortress. Upgrade materials required. Tough wood 40,000. Stone bricks 32,000. Fine stone bricks 8,800. Marble floor 2,000. Iron 3,500. Cast iron block 2,000. Metal parts 2,200. Terracotta tile 5,000. After increasing the number of mining laborers in various regions, the accumulation of materials also increased rapidly. The upgrade materials are sufficient. Call out all the maids in the buildings. Choose to upgrade directly. The light enveloped the buildings, beginning the expansion of Lord's Manor. The upgrade has taken 5 hours. Unable to enter Lord's Manor, Fang Hao began to wander around the city. The Blackstone training ground was still bustling with activity, with some maids training and Earth Spirit maidens lifting weights on the sidelines. As the weather warms up, maids are wearing less and less clothing. Each punch and kick creates a surging wave. Fang Hao glanced at it, and then continued heading towards the industrial area of the Undead. Enter the industrial zone. From afar, you can smell the odor of rubber. The skeleton tanners are boiling glue and processing some leather. In addition to the hawk leather that the territory was in dire need of, the tanners are also undertaking the production of some leather armor items. For example, the leather aprons used by the artisans, and the leather boots that are being mass-produced. Previously, the warm shoes worn in the territory were all made by the tailors, mostly using straw cloth, linen cloth, and face cloth as materials. Now that Tanners has joined, Fang Hao has them start making leather boots and leather jackets. A leather coat is a bit out of season, but leather boots are still more durable and long-lasting than shoes made of cloth. Afterwards, Fang Hao inspected all the craftsmen, including Skeleton Tailor and Skull Goldsmith. It must be said that the dead are far more self-disciplined than living beings. Their lack of desire makes them uninterested in anything, and they can only spend their time on work. I chatted with a few skeleton captains for a while, and then I felt it was about time. Back to Lord's Manor. By this time, the buildings had already been upgraded. Reached level 13, Lordstone Fortress. Level 13, Lordstone Fortress. Lord. Fang Hao. Abilities. Production/gathering plus 6.5%. Troop type movement plus 6.5%. All attributes plus 7.5%. Existing buildings. Level 12 Underground Tomb. Level 12 Stable. Appointed official titles. Copper Bowl City. Telok. Coldwind City. Skullcrusher. Town North City. Blackthorn. Prul. Tavik. Blood Fortress. Lorana and Tobias. Web Weaver Camp. Domina. Unnamed. Zhongbin. Unnamed. Fulei. Unnamed. Dong Jieyue. Unnamed. Kong Yongd. Note. Core buildings of the territory. Upgrade materials required. Tough wood 50,000. Stone bricks 38,000. Fine stone bricks 9,500. Marble floor 3,000. Iron 4,000. Cast iron block 3,000. Metal parts 3,200. Terracotta Tile 7,000. After level 13, the area of Lord's Manor expands. The capabilities provided have also all increased by 0.5. Fang Hao turned around and headed towards City Wall, upgraded the City Wall and several defensive towers to level 13. The remaining buildings can be upgraded slowly, or even left unupgraded. However, defensive buildings within the territory must be upgraded. Otherwise, if an emergency occurs, it will be too late to upgrade them temporarily. After lunch, Fang Hao opened Lord's book and peeked into the world channel. However, the speed at which messages arrive is still incredibly fast. I filtered through the ads for items for sale. In exchange, I received some crop seeds and a blueprint for a one-handed sword. Sager Winged Sword, Blue Cast Iron Block 8, White Steel Ingot 5, Tough Leather 2. Description: the Sager tribe's one-handed sword, with its unique design and exclusive forging techniques, has made this sword famous. The blue one-handed sword is a perfect replacement for the green-black Iron Knight sword. Buying a pre-priced blueprint from the channel avoids the possibility of them overcharging you just because they see Fang Hao's name. The blueprint was added, and the seeds were exchanged with Zhang Bin so that he could arrange for people to plant them. Go to Weapon Warehouse, open Lord's book and begin crafting. Hundredfold amplification triggered. Obtained 10,100 Siguri winged swords. The light flashed. More than 10,000 gleaming one-handed swords fell from the sky, clattering and scattering all over the ground. The piercing sound attracted the attention of nearby skeleton merchants, and the patrolling skeleton guards in the distance also rushed over with their swords drawn to check the situation. Seeing that it was Fang Hao making the weapon, they all dispersed and went about their own business. Fang Hao picked one up to examine it. Sager Winged Sword, Blue. Category: one-handed sword. Damage: level 4 damage. Effect: speed plus 5%. Description: the Sager tribe's one-handed sword, with its unique design and exclusive forging techniques, has made this sword famous. This one-handed sword looks very beautiful. The sword has wave-shaped patterns on its blade, and the guard is as fine as a feather. The name, Winged Sword, likely comes from the shape of its gauntlet. In terms of effectiveness, a 5% speed boost is actually quite good for a weapon. The description also mentions that it is a unique forging technique of the Sager people. However, after transmigrators acquired the blueprint, it lost its exclusivity. I opened Lord's book and searched for this weapon. There's only one store selling them, and it's selling their own blueprint transmigrators. Sager Winged Sword, Blue. Exchange requirements: 50 iron/15 fine iron/8 rare resources. Wow, that's a pretty ripoff. 50 iron or 15 fine iron and rare resources. But it's understandable, as there aren't many blue quality equipment products on the market. And since the winged sword is so unique, it's reasonable for it to be priced higher. Fang Hao thought for a moment and then put the winged sword up for sale. The price is the same as the other parties. Not selling at a low price is also because they don't want blue too. Equipment has become more accessible to the general public. With this world channel open, it's uncertain when it will start a war with any transmigrators, selling blue in large quantities at low prices. Equipment. This will not only create market chaos, but also make it easier for competitors to grow too fast. The price is high, and the other side can buy it, but at most they can only buy 100 or so, which is the best case scenario. Successfully uploaded. The Sager Winged Sword has been sold, granting cast iron block plus 50. The Seagull Winged Sword has been sold, granting plus 8 rare materials. The Hardwood Cavalry Bow has been sold, granting plus 10 cast iron block. The Seagull's Winged Sword has been sold, granting fine iron plus 15. The equipment sold out quickly as soon as it was listed. A large part of the reason for this is its status as the world's #1. Even though the transmigrator seller had listed the weapon a long time ago, nobody knew about his shop. On our side, we regularly sell weapons in large quantities. Many people come to buy equipment. Seeing the winged swords selling out quickly, Fang Hao produced another 100,000 units. In addition to the ones that are put on the shelves, the weapon is also replaced for the soldiers patrolling the territory. The replaced weapons were also sold at a low, guaranteed price. I've been busy for a while. Fang Hao was satisfied and planned to go back. Just as I stepped out of the warehouse area, I saw Du Jin walking towards me. Good afternoon, sir. Lizard Man Anastasia requests passage through the teleportation array, Du Jin said immediately. Because of the dragon race, the teleportation array was shut down immediately and someone wanted to use it for teleportation. This requires Fang Hao's approval. Upon hearing this name, Fang Hao immediately recognized the other person's identity. Lizard Folk Queen, Ancient Crown Feather, Anastasia, a dark gold tier 9 hero. The two sides did discuss future cooperation before, but it's not like they had to come in person. Aren't you afraid Fang Hao might have some ulterior motive and just leave her here? Similarly, Fang Hao was also somewhat hesitant at this moment, although he guessed that the other party had no ill intentions. But with so many of my heroes being transferred away, and the opponent being of such a high rank, I'm afraid there might be some danger. After thinking for a moment, he said to Njia beside him, "Have all the Nisbets in the city go to guard the area around Lord's Manor." Oh well, Njia agreed and quickly left. As winter passed, all 101 Nisbets were promoted to heroes. They are also an important defensive force in the main city. Nisbet possesses the powerful skill of Strip Trait, rendering any racial trait ineffective against it. It can play a very important role in ensuring the security of the territory. And Jia left quickly, and Fang Hao then looked at Du Jin and said, "In 10 minutes, allow 3 people to take them to Lord's Manor via the teleportation array." "Yes, sir." Du Jin quickly left. Fang Hao also walked towards Lord's Manor. The teleportation array radiates brilliant light. The next second, 3 lizard men walked out from the light screen. The leader was the Lizard Queen Ancient Sacred Crown Feather, Anastasia, dressed in gorgeous attire and with elegant manners. Beside the queen were 2 lizard men, one dressed in a loose religious robe and the other in full dark red armor with a long sword at his waist. The 3 appeared, their eyes filled with curiosity as they surveyed their surroundings. The rows of warehouses and the bustling skeleton merchants make it feel like entering a large, bustling marketplace. It seems that business here is really good. "Guests, the Lord is waiting in the hall. Please follow me," Du Jin said respectfully, bowing slightly. Hearing the sound, the 3 noticed the skeleton waiting to the side. The Lizard Queen nodded. Du Jin then led the 3 of them through the layers of buildings, heading towards Lord's Hall. The Lizard Queen was overwhelmed by the sights along the way. "I never imagined I could see such an eclectic mix of building styles in one city. The undead buildings, orc totems, and dwarf fountains are all built in one city. It's truly unique." Beside the road, a woman with rabbit ears is replacing the glass cover of a street lamp while standing on the head of a 5-meter-tall giant skull. The bouncy deerfolk dug a hole and planted flower seeds in front of the undead buildings. This contradictory yet harmonious scene is still somewhat surprising, even knowing that transmigrators have many differences. We arrived at Lord's Manor. Looking at the towering Nisbet figures around them, the 3 of them narrowed their eyes slightly. What a grand display. The guards are all heroes. Even the leader of a powerful faction wouldn't send out over 100 heroes to act as guards. Surprises came one after another. This experience has almost completely overturned their understanding of the world. "Please come in, gentlemen. The master is waiting inside," Du Jin said softly again when he saw the 3 of them stop at the door. The 3 of them then continued forward and followed them inside. "Step into the hall." Du Jin bowed and said, "My lord, 3 guests have arrived." Fang Hao immediately smiled and stepped down from the throne. "Your Majesty, I am so sorry for not greeting you properly." At the same time, Fang Hao also noticed the other 2 lizard men accompanying the Lizard Folk Queen. They were all heroes. Ancient Priestess, Tic-Tacta, Purple Tier 3 Hero, Red General, Leo Tuzan, Orange Tier 4 Hero. The Ancient Priest was draped in a thick white robe with blue patterns on the collar and hood, and an image of the Ancient Saint embroidered on the chest. The entire body, except for the face and tail, is exposed, and its skin is the same blue as Dimitrika's. Red General, with the same red skin as the Queen, is tall and imposing, wearing red armor and a long sword at his waist. His vertical pupils were cold and indifferent. He stood there, exuding a sense of oppression. "Mr. Fang Hao." The Queen also smiled, though Lizardman's smile revealed more of his teeth. "It gives people a sense of danger. Please sit down." Fang Hao gestured for everyone to sit down and chat. Maids served drinks and pastries. Once everyone was seated, Fang Hao continued, "What brings the Queen here?" The Lizard Queen picked up her tea and took a sip, not even worried that Fang Hao might poison her. After setting down his teacup, he said softly, "It's only natural to come and visit an ally." "That's true." Fang Hao smiled, "But in my heart I thought it had only been a few days since we last parted ways at Merchant Alliance headquarters. Even allies shouldn't be making moves so quickly. It's still this kind of meeting between leaders. The Lizard Queen continued. So, have the dragons caused you any trouble? Fang Hao was taken aback and suddenly became wary. She wouldn't come here to let the dragons discover the location of her territory, would she? But then I thought about it again, and that didn't seem right. There's no need for her to come and risk her life herself. Moreover, judging from her helping Fang Hao buy items, Lizardman's relationship with the dragons is not close, and they even seem to support him. No, it can't be that fast, Fang Hao said softly. The queen nodded. If there is any danger, as an ally, we will offer you some assistance. Thank you very much, Your Majesty. Of course, the queen nodded and continued. This time I came also intending to purchase some weapons from you. Equipment. I remember you said you'd give me a discount back then. The 10,000 weapons that were promised last time have already been handed over to the other party by Du Jin. Their shops also established connections. Come and buy your equipment from me now. Of course, Fang Hao nodded, then looked at the maid beside him. Go and call Du Jin here. Soon, Du Jin walked in, bowed, and sat down to the side. Fang Hao continued. This time, how many pieces of equipment does the Holy Dynasty plan to order? What are the quality and type requirements? And what are the specific requirements? The queen looked at the red-armored lizard man behind her. The latter immediately replied, We have ordered quite a lot, about 100,000 weapons. Of course, whether the order will be fulfilled depends on the quality and price. Fang Hao frowned. There are quite a few. Is this a unified replacement of equipment by the army, or simply replacing outdated equipment? A rich woman. What are the quality requirements? Fang Hao asked, his expression unchanged. Blue or higher quality, said Crimson General. There's absolutely nothing wrong with blue. He has a lot of blue equipment now. For weapon types, do we need the Mountain King Orc saber from last time? Fang Hao continued to ask. No, we need spears, one-handed swords and one-handed daggers, and crossbows. Red General continued. Fang Hao nodded. No problem at all. Warehouse has them in stock. Shall I take you guys to take a look? All right, the queen said. Fang Hao smiled and stood up, accompanied by Dimitrika and Njia. They walked together toward the warehouse. Arrived at warehouse, Fang Hao had someone bring out military war spear, Seeger wing sword, Mountain King Orc saber, and Doom Strike. Among them, Doom Strike is a blue-quality military crossbow. It was the blueprint obtained when Yu Tianpeng was killed and the Lord's Book was devoured. Now, Fang Hao has switched all his archers to bolt-action rifles, and these heavy crossbows are rarely used anymore. Look, how about these? They're all best-selling weapons here, Fang Hao said. General Red picked up military war spear to examine it and nodded slightly. Next, he checked the one-handed sword and one-handed knife behind them and tried out the crossbow. Judging from the reactions, everyone was quite satisfied. Fang Hao is quite confident in the quality of weapons. Weapons created by transmigrators are standardized. Unlike those crafted by natives blacksmiths, the quality varies. Fang Hao then recommended his own armor, but it seems that Crimson General wasn't very interested. Lizard Man is born with scales, which armor desperately needs. He only glanced at it before checking the weapon again. As Fang Hao was introducing the place, he suddenly noticed that behind him, the Lizard Folk Queen and the Lizard Man Priest were flanking Dimitrika, talking to her eagerly. Their excited expressions made them look like long-lost relatives and friends. At that moment, he realized what was happening. It's true that I bought equipment, but I also brought an ancient priest with me when I came in person. This is just them coming to find an opportunity to poach their own employees. They still haven't given up on Dimitrika and plan to recruit him to the Lizardman's side. Fang Hao did not stop him. A loyalty score of 100 ensures that Dimitrika will not betray him. Moreover, the shared faith between the two sides is also a way to maintain friendly relations with the Lizard Man. They talked for quite a while. I've seen almost all of Red General's work. He then walked back to the Queen's side and said softly, Your Majesty, it has been confirmed that there are no problems with the quality of these weapons. Lizard Folk Queen nodded, her gaze turning to Fang Hao. When can it be delivered? Fang Hao said, Before tonight. The Queen nodded. Then let's order here, and don't forget to give us a discount. Certainly. Then when we get back, we'll place the order through Merchant Alliance and have the goods delivered before tonight. The Queen said. No problem. I'll deliver it as soon as I receive the order, Fang Hao assured confidently. Then we'll head back now. Okay. Just contact me next time if you need anything. You won't have to come all the way here. Fang Hao led the group toward the teleportation array. The Queen made no comment, but simply followed along. Upon arriving at the teleportation array, the group bid farewell once more and disappeared into the light curtain. They left Fang Hao's territory. Lizard Man and his two companions. Through Merchant Alliance teleportation array returns to its own territory. Swamps and jungles are home to countless temples. This damp and complex environment is a dead end for any race, but it is the most suitable place for a lizard man. Countless lizard men lived here, meditating and practicing in front of the temple, dedicating their lives to the will of the ancient saints. In the heart of the jungle lies a vast, ancient city. The city wall is engraved with intricate incantations. Above, flags of similar colors hung and fluttered in the wind. The teleportation light screen lights up. The queen and her two companions appeared. The waiting maids and guards rushed forward to protect the queen. The triceratops carrying the throne bowed slightly, and the queen stepped on the protrusions of the dragon's scales to climb onto its back. She sat on the soft, blue velvet throne. Once the queen was seated, the triceratops rose and walked toward the palace. Tic-Tacta, how are you feeling? The queen on the dragon's back asked softly. Priest Tic-Tacta, seated atop a slightly smaller giant lizard, spoke. Does your majesty inquire about humans, or the son of the ancient saint? Let's talk about Fang Hao first. He seems a bit different from the last time I saw him, the queen said casually, leaning back in her chair. More than 100 heroes served as guards. How afraid of death must one be to use a hero in such a situation? Her palace guards were only level 9 divine guardians. That's simply incomprehensible. Tic-Tacta considered his words for a moment, then said softly, he is the most powerful transmigrators I have ever seen, stronger than any transmigrators I have ever encountered, even frighteningly so. Lizard Man is also cultivating transmigrators, and has even allowed transmigrators to switch sides with Lizard Man. However, compared to Fang Hao, the gap between the two is too large. Fang Hao is capable of sitting down with the queen for equal negotiations. The transmigrators, whom they themselves support, still need the lizardmen's help to clear out the wild beasts. Is there anything else? The queen continued to ask. Tic-Tacta continued. Given the size of his city, what we've seen is far from his full strength. Oh, how did you figure that out? We saw the Museum of the Dead and the spectacular buildings, which means that what we saw was not all. The queen nodded. Last time, she saw another human hero accompanying Fang Hao. It's definitely not the little girl with animal ears and white hair that I'm talking about today. Do you think he is qualified to be an ally of the Holy Dynasty? Tic-Tacta pondered for a moment, then finally nodded. I think it's possible. The allies they were referring to were not the verbal allies mentioned with Fang Hao. Instead, they signed a strategic alliance through a contract. Once signed, neither party can easily tear up the contract, nor can they attack the other without authorization. If either party encounters danger, the other party will provide support. For transmigrators, after signing, the location of allied territories will also be shared in the Lord's Book. Your Majesty, are you planning to sign it soon? Tic-Tacta asked again. The queen shook her head. No, he has provoked the dragons. We'll discuss this matter again once this is over and he survives. She didn't want to get involved with the dragon clan. Tic-Tacta nodded. The queen continued. And what about the son of the ancient sage? Very powerful. I can feel the steadfastness of his faith and the pure ancient holy power within him. Tic-Tacta said. Then count him as one. The queen said casually. Yes, your majesty. It will be time for pilgrimage soon. The queen needs a powerful husband of pure blood. In the temple of the ancient sages, they mate, please the ancient sages, and give birth to powerful offspring. There were originally 3 candidates, all of whom were powerful heroes within their clans. This time, there was one more person. Not long after Lizard Man left, Du Jin then received an order from Lizard Man. Military War Spear 50,000, Seeger Winged Sword 20,000, Mountain King Orc Saber 10,000, Doom Strike 20,000. Du Jin immediately discussed it with Fang Hao. Ultimately, the Military War Spear, 160 Warfire coins, the Seeger Winged Sword, 180 Warfire coins, the Mountain King Orc Saber, 180 Warfire coins, and the Doom Strike, 200 Warfire coins, were sold at this price. The price of almost everything has been reduced by 20 to 40, which is already a very good deal. After the other side also agreed to the price, Fang Hao began mass-producing these equipment in the warehouse. Crackle, raindrops fell from the sky. A group of skeletons nearby began to tidy up. About 2 hours later, Skeleton Merchant arrived with weapon equipment traveled to Lizardman's territory to deliver the goods. Night fell. Silverwing City. Hall of Justice, Hall. A group of counselors from Doherty, Milton, and nearby cities gathered. As the situation on the battlefield became increasingly unfavorable, Suhade's side kept sending in new intelligence. When the council members heard that Otis had a backup plan that could even threaten Silverwing City, everyone became uneasy. Their faces turned grim, and their hearts were in their throats. The lawmakers began to express their opinions, but from beginning to end, it was always the same few suggestions, without any significant breakthroughs. After making no progress, the powerful and wealthy began to consider their options. The Federation is truly unable to withstand the undead. How should I escape? Or which faction should I join? At the very least, we can't go to our deaths with the Federation. Seeing that there was no progress, and that it was getting dark, Doherty sighed slightly and said, "We need equipment, we need strategies, we need allies. Once we get back, any counselor who can come up with a solution will receive key support from the council, and the City Lord Counselor will be nominated to the Upper Council."